Operation GCD with an Appalachian grin. Adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Out in the holler where the secrets creep, garbage can dudes digging mighty deep. Secret societies, shadows in the pines. Operation GCD of American rebels design. Double J searching deep in his brain hole, past layers of melted hops and bone resin. From cults to cover-ups, we're talking about all of that. So watch your sixth friend and the truth we trust. The world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. GCD with an Appalachian grin. Adventures and shenanigans, we're diving right in. Join us on the journey and enjoy the show. Thanks for joining us to get a little GCD. Yeah, the world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo coats haunt the moon's pale beam. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, light things ablaze. Hell, the world's a puzzle, grunge rock ain't what it seems. Ancient alien cargo cults haunt the moon's pale beams. Cincinnati schemers, history's a haze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze. Double J's on the mic, lighting things ablaze.
Boom! Howdy, folks. Your host, Double J, back here, coming at you live from my studio / RV dining room, located directly inside America. Welcome back, folks of the interwebs. Thanks again for joining me here tonight to get a little GCD. Once again, your host of Operation GCD, JJ Vance here, and perhaps more notably, not the vice president. Anyhow, folks of the interwebs, I will be your pilot and navigator for tonight's shenanigan infused journey into the mind of this particular garbage can dude. And those of you joining here tonight for the first time, thank you much. I do like to unpack these matters of an occult and or esoteric film review. And I'm not going to lie to you, folks of the interwebs. Got a real barn burner here on deck for y'all tonight. We're going to do an occult and or esoteric film review of the 2022 cinematic masterpiece, The Offer, which is the making of the film The Godfather. And yes, ma'am, watch out for them laser beams. So in The Godfather, you know, there's a lot to be said about that film. Many people call it a classic. I only watched it for the first time a few years ago after I seen The Offer. So I have a lot of ideas around these matters, but ultimately speaking, as far as I'm concerned, these things described in The Offer and in The Godfather specifically are just a bunch of cult fuckers who like to do a bunch of hood rat shit, telling their tales. For example, a lot of these matters revolve around one of my favorite characters, Bob Cocaine Evans. He's, in fact, kind of the star of tonight's discussion. Y'all might remember him. He's the shirtless bastard here with that, that dark overlord, Henry Kissinger. He makes an appearance in the series as well, Henry Kissinger. So I won't belabor these points any further, but I do have a couple quick plugs here as I'm back amongst the living today from my recent illness. Got Operation GCD Thursdays coming up. Tomorrow's The Anatomy of the Satanic Panic, starring Muppet Mikey Aquino and Laser Tag Ted Gunderson, amongst many others. We'll be unpacking some of the real-world actual satanic murders and ritual abuse that occurred in the Phase 3 flap of their propaganda. That is the 1992 to circa, we'll call it 2008. So that's tomorrow, 9:15 p.m. And then on Fridays, I got Heidi Love, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Times. I got Heidi Love and Jacob J joining me for a discussion on some, parapolitical matters, a little parapolitical roundtable on Mormon stuff, if you will. And then, of course, I have Operation GCD Sundays from this last Sundays on Saturday, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Times. The anatomy of a false flag cover-up. That is, if you need to cover up a false flag event or some sort of unscrupulous matters of hood rat shit where you're putting on a patsy on the federal level, well, call Judy Clark. From the Unabomber to the Boston Bomber, this Muppet will get it taken care of for you. So that's coming up. But, and then, of course, tonight's discussion, we have The Offer. And joining me here in tonight's panel, we got Landon, host of the Daily Dissident, Phil Z, the secret agent of the Dewey Decimal System, and, of course, Troublemaker Jonah. Welcome back, gents. Thanks for joining me here tonight to get a little GCD.
Good to be here, bro.
What's good?
So, Landon, do a quick roundtable introductions. You got anything popping off at the Daily Dissident?
I think I have one episode. What's up?
Anything new and or exciting, sir?
I have one episode coming out, not this week, but next Tuesday. So be on the lookout for it. Should be a good one. Other than that, I want to say real quick before we kick off the show, Phil, you need to create your podcast. Jonah, you need to have a podcast. Everyone in chat that it's available to a camera and a mic, you need to have a podcast, because I think we are the answer to this common hood rat shit we see today. So, as you would say, JJ.
I like your style, sir. I do agree with these matters of free speech. That is one of the core tenets of my Operation GCD platforms here. And these two gents are men with a lot of details. So I don't need one. Well, you are a man with a lot of details, though, sir, and I do appreciate that and do respect that. And both of you have a lot to share.
I don't have free speech, I got.
Well, if you use a VPN, though, you can just connect to America. Then you have free speech, right? So what else is new in Canada there, sir? Troublemaker Jonah.
Oh, other than StreamYard being dyslexic and pissing me the fuck off. Like, look at this. I mean, it's not reversed and backwards when I put it up, but no, nothing too much. I mean, got a little sunburn today. Might come out in the picture because I was up on a hot tin roof. Like, I'm not a cat, but I was up there, doing some shit.
I didn't realize you guys got sunburns in Canada. That's interesting news this time of year. It's September.
Dude, I'm in southern Ontario. Like, fucking Detroit's north of me, technically. Actually, no.
That's a solid point. That's a solid point. That is a solid point. If you look at maps, it starts to get a little funky. When someone once told me that Florida was further west than Wisconsin, the panhandle, I'm like, that's bullshit. And, it is. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then I always like to point out, I just find it very interesting that you always have these events in Minnesota. And of course, it's on the 93rd degree parallel. So, I mean, 93rd degree west. And that's, Aleister Crowley's favorite fucking number. But, yeah, hey, that's coincidence, right?
Well, there's a lot of mounds in the state of Minnesota, sir. It's often referred to as the land of 10,000 lakes, and it should be described as a land of 10,000 mounds. So, and it falls within my 10,000. A lot of weird shit happens in and around mounds. You know what I mean?
Or 10,000 Somalians.
Well, they only imported those in the 90s, sir. The Mall of America should now be described as the Mall of Somalia. You're bound to
Mall of Somalia.
What the fuck
kidding,
is
dude.
with
I'm not kidding at all, dude.
Sorry.
That point is often overlooked. For example, I had the fucking FBI, dude, the Federal Bureau of Uninvestigations, come visit my office when I worked at the headquarters for the Air Force Military Police. trying to describe to me a threat to the Air Force base there in Minneapolis, St. Paul Airport. And I was like, oh, there's a Reserve Air National Guard base attached to the back end of that airport where they put all these Somalians around. And then later the FBI was like, hey, we have a threat there. They want to, like, surface air missiles, some of your all's aircraft. Like, oh, no shit.
Oh,
maybe I should have imported them right next to our fucking aircraft. How about that solution, guys?
Oh, shit. Did you see just recently there was within the last month there was a Canadian man, Brampton man, that was deported, lived the first 50 years in China.
I was about to say, where did he come from before he went to Canada, right?
Yeah. So I said that to these guys earlier, like all these terrorists, and Todd Holman's been kind of jumping on that because even if you go back, like I remember in the 80s, we used to just go over with a birth certificate. I used to live 100 meters from the borderline that runs through the river between Fort Erie and Buffalo. But we used to go over, no problem. Then 9/11 happened. All of a sudden, you needed to have a driver's license, and then within 5 years of that, then it was a passport to enter the USA. Because they start selling you the Nexus cards.
Did you guys see the old man in the Charlie Kirk assassination? He got popped for child porn.
Yeah,
that's an interesting character for sure. This George Zenfeld, because he's kind of the Forrest Gump of false flag events, if you will.
Is this like is this straight out of the handbook? Like, I mean, they gotta get a little better than this, right?
Dude, yeah, they're not very creative. I don't buy any of this shit, but
the one thing I find interesting.
That topic. We'll have to table Charlie Kirk.
Sorry, I just wanted to mention it. I thought it was hilarious.
No worries, no worries. How's life at the what do you got there, Jonah?
I just want to point out that, to me, I'm not 100% certain, but I'm going to say I'm 93% certain that the same guy who gives the hand signs right before the shot is the same guy that was right behind Trump when he threw up the communist fist.
It looks suspiciously like the same Secret Service, the stand-in Secret Service agent, because that guy you're describing was actually a DOJ or a DHS personal security guy on detail in the Secret Service that day. So it is interesting. And I think there's more to add on that discussion for sure in the future. But tonight's discussion on The Offer, the 2020 cinematic masterpiece on the making of The Godfather. And Phil Z's a man with a lot of details, sir. Welcome back to Operation GCD. How's life at the Dewey Decimal Agency?
Thank you for having me. Same old. Always busy, picking new stuff up every day. And I was telling Landon a little bit ago that I decided to watch the first 5 episodes again today, actually, with some multitasking and just pick up on some things I missed. And I was telling Landon, I was like, there was one thing that just, because I'm a stickler for certain things with facts. Like, I understand dramatizations, but when you put a key character in the miniseries who's been dead, like in real life for years, it's a little bit of a problem for me.
Yeah, it's worse than even making the characters up like Colin Hanks's character, who's kind of not even an amalgamation. He's just a fictional character.
Yeah. He's like your typical bean counter. I mean, who's to say Evans? I mean, I'm sure Evans had enough detractors at Paramount and Gulf and Western, sure. but yeah, no, the Barry Lapidus character was completely made up, thrown into the mix.
Lapidus?
Yeah. Well, because at one point, what's her name? Juno Temple's character, Betty, calls him.
Yeah,
I know that. Yeah,
that's like I watched the whole series a week ago, and then I messaged JJ. I'm like, man, like there's way too much in just fucking episode 1. I need to start taking notes. And then I was like, I just got busy, and I only got notes for the first episode, but I put a bunch of things together because I think obviously. The first episode is all about introducing the characters, but it is a good old Albert Ruddy, who's it's based on him. But he's a really interesting character, and I got a whole bunch of shit to go in on with him because it's not just what he did with the fucking Godfather.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
ahead.
He goes on to work in the Bob Evans Enterprises, if you will, cocaine Bob Evans.
No, I don't. You know, I'll just
Not
jump
the
out there
restaurant.
and say,
not
I
the
really
Ohio
don't care.
Sausage King of Ohio, right?
No, I'll just say I don't care about so much everything else he did, but he did Coonskin. He was executive producer of Coonskin, which was the sequel to Fritz the Cat, where like it was Barry White's voice, and Miss America was a big-titted animated character that started killing black people like all throughout the movie. But all of it is predictive programming. But I got a bunch of slides.
I'm not familiar with that one at all, sir. We'll have to get into that one. I was referring to the fact that he was on the early onset to USA Network, which was created by Barry Diller, which was Bob's protege that he hired for Paramount.
I didn't know till today that he was the creator of Texas Walker Ranger.
There you go, sir. Walker, Texas Ranger, one of the big hits for USA Network when it first started.
Yep.
Awesome show. Used to watch it every day.
I love
before
it.
we-
Chuck Norris is a dick. I will say that he's a real dick. For example, he's a former security forces MP from the Air Force. In fact, he learned his little karate or whatever from South Korea when he was stationed there. And when the director of security forces was retiring a number of years back when he worked on the headquarters staff, someone wanted Chuck Norris to come and talk at the director's retirement. And I was like, all right. So I was put in charge of a lot of logistics because that's what I did, logistics and money and shit. So I had to call Chuck Norris's people and they wanted 80 grand. I told them to go eat a dick, dude. I'm like, what are you talking about? 80 grand to come talk to the director of security. I mean, he's a former Air Force dude. What are you talking about? I'm like, I was willing to pay 10 grand at most. I wasn't even offering that. I was just asking him his availability. Like, yeah, he's available 80 grand. I'm like, no way, dude. Get out of town.
Now,
Well,
JJ, with that being said, let's say you actually did pay him 80 grand, but you only gave him 40. You send him the 80, he cuts you the other 40. Does that happen or what?
Well, not in my watch, sir. I mean, I'm sure that's the DC way, but that wasn't my way.
Could that happen, though, is what I'm saying. Could that happen?
Every day, I imagine.
Okay.
I mean, have you heard about Bill Clinton's speaker fees for fucking the banks?
Well, that's how they all get rich, right? After they become president, they become speakers. And they're doing, I mean, Obama, how much was Obama getting paid for those speeches after his presidency? It was a stupid amount, man.
Oh, dude. I remember when Slick Willie came over to Iraqistan selling his books, dude. I had to help do security on his tour through the Middle East, augmenting Secret Service on his book tour, dude. It was fucking ridiculous, dude.
Is that just laundering? Is that what they're doing? I mean, I don't
know. It's something, right? I mean, they're doing
are they cleaning those USA money?
I think a lot of those books are ghostwritten. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are certain politicians, I'm sure, who can, put together a sentence or two. But I think, I mean, going back to what was it, Hillary Clinton?
Not many.
It takes a village. There was a ghostwriter, and then they tried to minimize the contribution.
Wait! I'm going to go off topic for about 30 seconds, not even. But as far as autobiographies, and JJ, you'll appreciate it. I mean, it's a Jehovah's Witness, but EARL, the autobiography of DMX, is a fucking fantastic book. He talks about all his crack smoking and all the fucking all the guys. Like, he literally names other celebrities showing up to his shows with the shotgun in the down feather coat in the middle of fucking summer in New York City, and everyone knew exactly why he had the down feather coat on in the middle of summer. Yeah,
I was gonna say he really bucked the system, didn't he? He was not like really a mainstream rapper, right?
No. Wasn't DMX, wasn't he like smoking embalming fluid? Embalming fluid? I thought he got popped for smoking embalming fluid too.
I don't know about that one, but no, it's kind of funny
fentanyl, too. Man, give me that. I want to smoke that embalming fluid.
So I don't know when there was the first time, Landon, I'll start with you, sir. When was the first time you'd seen the Godfather film itself? Was it before or after you'd seen The Offer?
Oh, way before that. I haven't even finished The Offer yet. I'm only 2 episodes in, so I'm kind of gonna be. I mean, I know you said we're probably gonna go through the first 3 episodes. So, but I
that's what we're aiming for. There's a lot of shit, man. It's chock full of parapolitical stuff, dude.
It's actually really good. And can I bring up this? Like,
I think it was excellent, dude. I mean, the way they really get you coming in and going out of each of the 10 episodes, in my opinion. I mean, it's really grasp your attention,
bro. What about the Rand Corporation drop literally 10 seconds into the movie?
Yeah, I mean, and then he stresses like, "Oh, but it's secret. It's not top secret." Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Right.
Oh, I got.
So what was that? Was that like a nudge? I mean, was that?
No, he was with Rand.
To it? Yeah, I knew that.
But
is that like a tip of the hat? I mean, is that like them tipping their hat to the Rand Corp? Like, saying we're going to play ball
it is, dude. I'm sure it is to a certain degree, right? Well, to Ruddy's backstory, right? Because I mean, who is Albert Ruddy? And it sounds like Jonah's got a good amount of information for us. We'll get into in a minute, but he is a guy who was ostensibly a CIA contractor for the Rand Corporation in Los Angeles, which is interesting because at the same time, the head of the Rand Corporation in Los Angeles was in Laurel Canyon, and he was mentoring the future folks of these PNAC, the Project for the New American Century, like Paul Wolfowitz, all those, neo-Nazi fuckers. They call themselves neoconservatives. They were all there. So I don't know how much Ruddy was connected to that, but he's certainly working for the corporation out of that same town where all that shit was going down. So it begs the question, in my opinion, because he immediately involves himself with that Francois lady, who owns the Chateau Marmont, and a lot to be said about those things and her. So, which we'll get into, but I'm gonna find out your all's thoughts on The Godfather first. So, Landon, you were a big fan. You a big fan of The Godfather then going into seeing this, Landon? We've lost Landon. Landon down. Phil, you're next up, sir.
Yes.
I know. I don't even have to ask you. You've obviously seen The Godfather prior to watching The Offer.
Oh, yeah. First time I saw it, I was too young to understand it. I thought it was a movie about a family. There's certain scenes that as a kid, like you hear Mafia, you don't know what that is until a certain point. But I remember watching Sonny's death, and because they filmed that in Jones Beach. They filmed that near me as a kid because there was supposed to also be, I think I told you, with Long Beach, because that's where it's set. It was supposed to film in Long Beach, but the people in Long Beach would not sign off on that. And when, Tom Hagen tells Vito about Sonny's death, those are like the two main things I remember as a kid. And those scenes are back to back. But I've probably seen The Godfather probably about 100 times. This is my second go around with The Offer. I love it. I love The Godfather. I loved all The Godfathers. I know that the third one gets a lot of heat because of Sofia Coppola. I'm like, well, if you don't pay attention to that and pay attention to the story itself, I mean, all three are great movies that kind of stand on their own.
I actually like Godfather 3 might be my favorite because of the story it tells.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I liked it even as a kid before I knew a lot of it, a lot more of the backstory, before I had read books about the Vatican Bank and, things like that. So it was a great story and influenced by Charlie Bloodhorn and, his relationship with Michele Sindona and, like that whole connection that would lead to Godfather 3. And I still think George Hamilton's character in Godfather 3 is a Evans sort of, might be a little bit of a portrayal in that, even though they're both notoriously tan. And
no, 100%, dude, 100%. You're spot on, sir, because Hamilton himself years ago said that the character he plays on screen is the super tan, slicked hair fella. That is his satire of his friend Cocaine Bob Evans. They came up in Hollywood together in the old Hollywood, playing character roles, in big films, opposite some A-list actors.
Yep. And they brought in, in that third one, they brought in George Hamilton because Robert Duvall asked for too much money, so they killed him off. Hamilton's character, I think his name is like BJ, is supposed to be like the next generation Tom Hagen.
Yeah, and then you got Eli Wallach jumping. He's doing the Chinatown sequel at the same time, and he lives just in Westchester County, that den of iniquity. Well, technically, he lived in Putnam County. He lived right across the border.
Close enough.
Right across the border. Lived in Putt Lake. I know that because we lived in Putt. My family lived in Putt Lake for a short bit.
Okay.
What are you talking? Putnam County, West Virginia?
No, this is New York, just north of Westchester County. I hail from Fairfield County, Connecticut, but we lived in Putt Lake after that for a brief stint. And then Eli Wallach lived down the street. York? What is this, sir?
Is this the Adirondacks? Like
this is right across the border from Danbury, Connecticut. literally like right across the border, just north of Westchester County. But that's where these people hail from. Cocaine Bob's from there. He lived in that region. Charles Bluedhorn, Cocaine Bob's boss, the head of Gulf and Western, this secret Austrian fella who suddenly runs this conglomerate, who seems very spooky and Nazi-like, if you ask me. But he lived a few miles down the same road from us down in Ridgefield, Connecticut, right there in Fairfield. Right across. He lived about 6 miles from the Process Church headquarters there in Pound Ridge. So, very close proximity to all these shenanigans, if you ask me.
Yep. And just one more comment in terms of The Godfather. Loved the book. I actually read the book 2001 because I literally can remember exactly when I read it. And phenomenal.
Our channel's my favorite. Bill Colby, CIAA, about ball washers. I don't know what this means. Godfather's a fantasy produced by Evans. This is a book written by Ruddy tonight, and the book Godfather's written by Puzo, so that doesn't really make a lot of sense there, RR.
Wait. I got a wonderful idea. I think RR channel should be invited to the next breakdown as long as he shows his bare face.
That would actually be awesome.
I would like to offer our channel a free subscription to Operation GCD Patreon, just so I can get some more entertainment on the Patreon side.
No, I'm serious. Just like the Exodus book, every time I did robberies, I did it bareface. So I mean, if he wants to come on and defend Colby and fucking Makino and all of the rest of them, sure, but come on
down.
And I'll have an honest conversation with him straight from Langley Farm. I'm on the farm.
JJ?
He wants to hear the theme song again, I think.
No. It can't be alive on two screens. It's implying that you are RR channel, and this is like
is that me? Oh, maybe that's
you're playing the chat.
I see.
3D chat.
Looks like a lot of accusations there. Apparently, baseless accusations of that, like RR channel. So anyhow, I saw Godfather after I'd seen The Offer. I got a lot of thoughts about both of these productions, the activities surrounding in which the environment they were produced in and the characters involved, because we see various intersections of the drug trafficking national security state. And speaking of Charles Bluedhorn, there's another connection because he was friends with a guy who owned Air America before selling it to Les Wexner, Jeffrey Epstein's buddy. He also lived in Ridgefield, Connecticut, the fellow I'm thinking of. So a lot of weird shit there. So, but I do think these fellows are just all telling their tales of their hood rat shit amongst their friends. And some of it's a hit piece, in my opinion, as well, in certain regards.
This is connected to Pan Am too, right? Through the Rand Corp, right? Rand Corp was big. They're co-founded by the Pan Am group, right?
That I'm not sure of.
I think I was reading something on that earlier about Rand, that they were kind of conglomerates in 1948 with Pan Am.
Well, that I'm not sure. We see an intersection of a lot of cult activity though, amongst just not the Process and Cocaine Bob. Al Ruddy's wife, she would later be the head. She would do a coup in that Ron Sheesh movement in Oregon, ousting that Sheila lady from the underling of old whatever his name was, Ron Sheesh himself. So, Jonah, sir, I'm sure you've seen The Godfather before you've seen The Offer. What were your thoughts upon seeing The Offer and your thoughts on Godfather?
So The Godfather, I first saw it when I was like a kid. I mean, I grew up in Fort Erie, which is right across from Buffalo, New York, and you had a lot of Italians there that are all from New York State and New York City. So, I mean, it was kind of like something that I seen way too many times as a kid, and I wasn't necessarily all up on the Italian flag like I was fucking Mazzini, like all the kids I knew as a child or preteens, so to speak, because I also moved a lot. But so I seen it when I was young, But so when I first seen The Offer, it would have been in like 2022, kind of tail end of COVID, like all you people in Florida who didn't have to go through it. You're not in Canada where like people were still locked down till fucking. Because I think there's still people in lockdown here, right? So, I mean,
that I have no doubt.
As far as that goes, I was sick one day, and I don't really watch TV. I don't really watch movies, but I was sick one day, and I was really under the weather, so I just wanted something to put on the background, and I went to the Pirate Bay. I downloaded it, and the offer was in like the top 100. I'm like, what the fuck is the offer? So I did a YouTube, watched the trailer, and I'm like, what? So I just put it on the background, right? I'm like laying on the couch, just playing on the phone. I got the movie playing in the background. So in the second episode, I didn't even really catch on in the first, but in the second episode, when they mentioned the Rand Corp in fucking Chinatown, or maybe it was the third episode, I was like, wait, what the fuck? Back to episode 1, turn around and actually watch this shit. So I watched it start to finish on like one. I was sick as fuck. I'm puking in a bucket so I can like just binge watch the whole. I'm like, holy! And they start mentioning Kissinger. But yeah, I got a whole slide about this motherfucker because I started when I just once I seen that he was a Rand Corp guy, I was like, oh, okay, who the fuck is this guy? And then I actually started breaking down. I have the stuff from his up there too. But I'll get into that once you go through it because I have my own thing to go into, and it's fantastic. Because
so let's look at some of these characters. So what did y'all think? I thought they did not only a pretty good job at casting, but I thought they did a pretty good job as far as the appearance of these folks go. But like some of these folks, I thought they really nailed it. Right, the characters.
Not Ruddy.
Yeah, I know you're against Ruddy. I got some pictures of Ruddy to compare here too. So.
You know, I got the one where he's the actual where he wins it. I'm like, yeah, he looks nothing like that guy who plays him. He looks like a 40-year-old Jewish guy, and the other one's like a wasp. You know what I mean? He's like fit wasp, not like fat, former.
I think Miles Teller's Jewish.
He's at least half. I think he's at least half.
He doesn't look like Ruddy does, you know.
What's wrong with this guy's
look
face?
at Bob Evans there, right? This dude nailed Cocaine Bob. I mean, he fucking killed it. And again, the casting, I thought he looks a lot like Bob. And I don't like Dan Fogler and anything else he does, but I mean, you know, he did a good Coppola here, I thought.
Oh, wait. Can I just break in here? Because since we're talking about movies involving, have any of you seen the weird, fuck. I'm gonna have to look it up. It's got the fucking guy who played Hellboy. What's his name? Ron Perlman. That's it. And it's a Stanley Kubrick movie, and it's the faking of the moon landing.
Oh yeah, that's
have
the
any of
new
you seen
one
that movie?
with... Yeah.
No, that's from like 2016.
No, that one's new with what's his name? JJ, the dude
Who's
that played in 21 Jump Street.
No, there's the one from the
Channing
2016.
Tatum.
We gotta look it up.
Oh, but they made a new one. Did you see it too, Jonah? The new they're like where they goes in like behind of the faking of the moon landing.
Well, this one's just like
that one's
it's a complete spoof one but it's got Ron Perlman in it. No, that's not that one. I got
I've never even heard of this film.
I gotta find the name here. Moonwalkers. If you want to pull that up, Moonwalkers.
Yeah, I've seen that with Michael Jackson.
No, Moonwalkers, the movie. If you pull it up, it was like 2016.
I vaguely recall this film.
I just, when they were talking about the director and I saw the Francis Ford Coppola, I had to throw this one out because this is wild.
Ron Perlman. He's awesome.
Hey, look at the premiere. South by
Is he a
Southwest.
shitbag in this movie too?
I mean, in real life, I'm sure, right?
Is he
just like every character he plays,
shitbag?
he's a shitbag.
So Dan Fogler, I don't care for in anything, but I thought he did really well in this.
He was good. He was really good.
And this guy right here, Patrick Gallo,
Mario,
who played Mario Puzo, he did an interview out of Buffalo News. He's from Buffalo, that he's a member of the Gallo family. In fact, his uncle, he said, is a made man.
See, wait. You're just proving my point. I said I grew up in Fort Erie, right across from Buffalo, where we had a lot of these people.
Yes,
you just proved my point for me. So yeah, no, I saw this way too many times. I saw The Godfather, I should say, way too many times, and literally they're all hugging the flag more than Mazzini. Italy wasn't
that's
even
a trend we see though in The Godfather, right? There's a lot of made men in The Godfather, right?
Lenny Montana was definitely, if he was an associate at least, he was a former wrestler too. And then his son actually became a made man in the Mafia. And the guy who plays Salazzo in The Godfather, Al Lettieri, who was also in The Getaway, his brother-in-law was an Eboli. I think it was Tommy Eboli, who was the Genovese family boss. So yeah, there was Mafia there. And I think supposedly Clemenza, Richard Castellano, tried to say he was related, but he wasn't. But yeah, there was enough Mafia adjacent, if not Mafia made men, in and around this movie. I mean, now don't get me wrong, the offer does take some artistic license with it, but which once again, when you ask what one of my sticking points is with this series, I'll tell you, kind of like with the movie The Irishman has some sort of ways around certain people. But yeah, no, there's definitely made guys. And some would say, oh, it gives a little bit, kind of like authenticity. The movie had authenticity because by this point, the movie's released 1972. There's already an admission of what the Mafia is, that there is one in 1957 after Appalachian. So we're already talking 15 years of the Mafia kind of being in the mainstream culture at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a propaganda piece because they show us in the offer here that it's Joe Colombo himself's an executive producer of this film.
Yeah, but Phil, I'm just gonna say if you don't like movies that take artistic license, you definitely should watch The Inside Man about the Roy DeMeo crew with Emile Hirsch.
Emile Hirsch,
definitely have to watch that one.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, no, I would definitely watch that. But even I was just what was it? I just finished a book about different thing. William Friedkin, the director, talking about The Brinks Job, one of his movies. Yeah. It was dissecting all of his movies, but The Brinks Job being shot in Boston and talking about the underworld elements. I'm like, yeah, no, certain movies, if they weren't in the Teamsters, they were in and around the crew. The Godfather had, Mafia in some form or another. I think The Offer takes it to another level, but it's never not entertaining. I wouldn't have watched it if I wasn't entertained by it.
And while we have Puzo on the screen, or we did.
If I just may on William Friedkin, sir, that's another intersection with the drug trafficking stuff we get here because we get Sonny Grosso in the film, one of the detectives from the French Connection who's friends with Al Ruddy.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. And the offer there. And he's deeply involved in a lot of these kind of Hollywood tellings of these tales, if you will. But the least of which he's involved in that French Connection business, and we see that's made by William Friedkin. And William Friedkin makes that film. What's he make that film? Cruising, right? Yep. So he's the Exorcist. A friend of his played in The Exorcist is the serial killer allegedly behind the killings and told in the gay underground as scene of the Mafia-owned gay underground scene as told by Maury Terry in The Ultimate Evil, as depicted in the film Cruising. And Al Pacino from The Godfather, Cocaine Bob's underling, plays that plays the detective going undercover in that movement for that serial killer in this film, made by William Friedkin in 1980, contemporary to these serial killings, who the guy he's friends with is a serial killer, apparently.
And there was another cop consultant involved in that in Cruising, a guy named Randy Jurgensen, who's still alive, who's like in his 90s now, who's in a bunch of Friedkin's films, who's good friends with Brasso.
Are you my brain hole, sir? That was the next step coming up.
I'll send you guys that podcast of that movie producer. You'll be definitely interested in hearing it, JJ, about the whole mob connection and with the Mothman filming there in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. They actually got.
Am I cutting out, or is that you, Landon? I couldn't tell.
It might have been me.
It's you, JJ. He's coming in clear on my end.
Okay, so it's me. All right, I couldn't catch any of that. What were you saying, sir?
I'll send you guys the podcast episode of that movie producer that was filming. It was a Point Pleasant Mothman movie documentary or whatever in Point Pleasant, and how they got ran off set by the mob and got threatened and shit. It was crazy.
That sounds awesome.
I've heard about that. That's the Pittsburgh mob you're talking about. I've heard about that. So this is the serial killer. It's about Cruising in that film by Friedkin. It's just a weird. He was in The Exorcist. He went with Friedkin.
Isn't that house for sale now?
Which one?
The Exorcist house?
The Exorcist
I think that's
house.
the Conjuring you're thinking of, sir.
You guys want to buy it?
I think it's all bananas and Looney Tunes.
do.
Also, on that same regard, do not mess with cursed dolls. Don't recommend it.
We should buy it and make it a podcast house instead of like a hype house or you know.
Who are you, Trent Reznor? Who are you, Trent Reznor?
The Spotify house.
Anyways, while we're talking about what were we talking about? I don't even remember. Oh, The Exorcist.
Mario Puzo, sir.
No, while we're I'll segue to that. But while we're talking about The Exorcist, now I'm just gonna say, if it comes to the point that I ever need an exorcist, please bring me the superior general and not the Pope. Just saying. But on top of that, since we're talking about the Pope, you know, my favorite Mario Puzo book, which I don't know a lot of people have ever read it. It's a novel, but it's the family, which is based on the Borias. Yeah, it's a fantastic. He takes a lot of artistic, obviously, because who has fucking transcripts from fucking the 1400s? But I mean, it's just a fantastic piece of work, and you know, I would say it just kind of gives you an indication of how much more he may be in to these things than he gives on, or Ruddy gives on, and like, oh, he got beat up by the Mafia, so he had to write the book to pay back his debts.
Yeah, I mean,
you bring up a good point. So I see all of these people being part of a sex cult, Puzo included, who would later go on to write the Superman films, because I call those flemic fan fiction, right? Marvel Comics, DC Comics. But we see all these fuckers are involved in very, very cold activities, right? And that seems to be, in my opinion, the connecting principle, including the Colombo family, who at the very same time of this, the underboss, Sonny
Francis.
Yep. I was about to call him John, but that's his legal name. They called him Sonny.
Yeah,
right?
John Sonny Francis died over 100 years old.
So
they always called the oldest one in the family Sonny.
What's that, sir?
A lot of Italian families always called, no matter what their name is, they call the first one Sonny for whatever reason.
Oh,
I think Italian families do that.
I think they called Homeboy Sonny in this film was a hit piece on Sonny Franchise from his boss, Joe Colombo, because he was getting a lot of heat on the family. He was making all these pornographies and stuff, doing a lot of weird shit with these cult fuckers. And I think his son does a lot of weird shit with cult fuckers too. And I think his son is depicted in the film as the guy on the Colombo family who's attached to the film, who befriends Ruddy and chases after Betty McCart, Ruddy's assistant.
Yeah.
So we see at the same time they're producing, the Colombo family is deeply involved in the production of this. Sonny Franchise is producing Deep Throat, the first above ground pornography, and that's
with the Perennials.
And it premiered in a Process Church Theater, the Pussycat Theaters in West Hollywood. So
to answer the question, who is Deep Throat? It's the FBI director.
I don't think it was that old. You think it was that old man, Mark Felt?
No, like that's the story. The assistant, because he got a fucking Nixon when refused it, right?
Yeah.
Well, so it's interesting. So if we look at all these matters, that's a good point you're bringing up, Landon. Watergate's the same time. So we see Deep Throat, Watergate, Deep Throat porn stuff, and they're all circulating around the same fuckers. Henry Kissinger, Cocaine Bob, and their mafia friends.
Yep. Tied in there somewhere, Bill Colby, right? I assume.
Well, they're all, Colby's queers are in the mix, right?
Colby was running Phoenix.
No, he would have been 72. He would have been back in the USA.
He'd have been deputy CIA director in 72.
73, he becomes director.
Yeah, he was still running.
He was already.
He
was back in DC already being prepped, though.
Yeah, I think he's January of 73. I think he becomes deputy.
72.
He moved him back as the head of Asia out of DC, though, because he needed to get office experience before they moved him.
You know what? We got Bill Colby's biographer in the chat. Let's just ask our art channel. So this film, though, the offer really begins back in 67, right? That's really where we kick off, right? 67.
Well, I mean, Ruddy starts way before that, but they don't ever mention in the.
They don't really give years. They don't really get years specific for the most part.
Yeah, but we know they're doing Hogan's Heroes, and they've already made Rosemary's Baby based upon their commentary and references, right?
Well, they're just about. Yeah.
Well, never mind. I was gonna say Ruddy had already been a director for Warner Brothers, which they never fucking touch on, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
So we know Hogan's Heroes is created in 65, and Rosemary's Baby is filmed in 66. So we see these matters popping off in and around those same time periods.
Yeah. Now, the other thing, though, too, is it does also talk about Puzo got allegedly, I don't know for sure, but he got like what, $15K for the first 60 pages. The book wasn't even published; it was just a draft, and they got $60K or $15K, and they had owned the rights.
Yeah, I mean,
well
that was probably a going rate for optioning film rights at the time, right?
Yeah. But if that's the case, what's the publication date? I'm looking it up right now. Because that would kind of answer the question, right? It would have to be... So it was published March 10 of 1969. So however long it took him to write it. So yeah, we're looking about 1967 or so. Because even before that, because let's be honest, he talks about... No, he's talking about the one he wrote for his mother, the Pilgrim book, and that was
Fortunate Pilgrim.
When did that one publish?
I'm just pulling that up right now.
He had at least three, if not 4 books before The Godfather. He had Dark Arena. He had Fortunate Pilgrim. He had, I think there was a book, Davy Shaw, 65. Something like that. And then there was something he published not under Puzo, but under like another last name, something like 6 Ways to Munich or something like that. Because he said The Godfather, for the longest time, he was like, it's not even my favorite book. You know, it was like the need that came to it. So it's not like he disavowed it. He just like, no, it's not my favorite work. You know, like people love it, but he's like, that's not my favorite. Probably because it wasn't as personal as the way that Fortunate Pilgrim was.
So what we're getting at, folks, is they made a couple liberties, right, in the chronology of events here, because Phil, they really kick it off there with we meet Columbo, starting the Scientologist Ribisi there, who always likes to do weird voices, dude. His weird voices weird me out, and then he likes to do we see him playing Joe Colombo taking out Profaci, right? That's where he kicks off, right? And that's 62, right?
Well, so when the series starts, it's in Little Italy. It's actually Profaci's already gone. So what it was, and this is something I've read in a lot of books, is that Joe Colombo was approached by Joe Bonanno to help be in on a plot to take out Tommy Lucchese, Carlo Gambino. I heard later on it might have been Sam Giancana as well. I think it was like 3 or 4 bosses. And Joe Colombo, despite the fact that, you know, technically it was violating the oath by being a rat, decided to give up the plot to Gambino and Lucchese. So let's say that's when this story begins. Because again, it does not give the year. Joe Bonanno is basically thrown off the commission. They don't kill him. They let him retire in 64. And which probably was their biggest mistake.
If I may, that had something to do with the JFK, that whole Bay of Pigs thing there, right? Because he was on the board of Permindex.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, they might have kept it. I mean, but let's face it. How many times can you try to double-cross bosses where you get to live? I mean, like Joe Bonanno was around during the Castello Morese War where he saw what would happen when Salvatore Maranzano had a hit list. They had him whacked out. But yeah, Bonanno, I think maybe they were concerned. Maybe they figured, hey, better off just putting them to the side. But he writes a man of honor in 83, which winds up giving up the whole commission, or that's where they led him, you know.
What's the Appalachian Conference that it said there? What is it?
Well, that was 57. That was the raid that exposed.
Yeah, that's when they raided and got them all.
Why is it called the Appalachian Conference?
Appalachian is where it was.
Besides,
Appalachian, New York.
Can I interrupt you for one moment there, Phil? It's not called a hit list.
Mm-hmm.
It's what the hell is it again? Here, give me disposition matrix, something like that.
So, well, that's a good legal way to put it. So we see the pop off with the Profaci family turning into the Colombo family based upon a battle between 2 of the capos, right? Joe Colombo and Joe Gallo.
Well, which was the second war because Gallo had warred against Profaci previously. So there was Profaci dies in 62. His brother-in-law, Joe Magliacco, a little bit less popular, takes over. Magliacco was actually privy to Bonanno's plan. And I guess not that long after Magliacco got called on the carpet, he dies of a massive heart attack at his mansion. And then Colombo is given the reign of the family.
But was it the heart attack gun?
You know what?
See, this is a major factor, though, in the production of this film is this one with Joe Gallo, right?
I mean, they are all tied up to the CIA, right?
Well, that's what I was getting at. So we see a matter with Joe Gallo when he gets out of prison and starts this war with Joe Colombo, and as described in the offer, he teams up with Nicky Barnes, who's in league with the folks at Fort Bragg on the trafficking of heroin, and they're teamed up with, I believe it's Lucchese family, if I'm not mistaken. And then we see
Matthew Madonna,
yes,
sir. Lucchese family. Yep.
Yes, sir. There you go. I knew you would know the name, sir. And then we see Frank Lucas, who's the opposition to Nicky Barnes, and he's teamed up with I believe it's the Vinny the Chin.
Can I just interject here? Can I just interject here that Frank Lucas was a rat, though?
They're all rats,
he was so much more of a rat than they ever played it with Denzel. He was
Don't tell his son that. Don't tell his son, stand-up comedian and Joe Rogan underling that. David Lucas.
But didn't that guy also try to I follow him on Instagram, but didn't he also try to claim that he was related? He was the son of the famous Georgia Senator Lucas. I forget his.
That I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I looked into, from what I could tell and looking into it, he is related at least to Frank Lucas. I believe he claims to be the son of.
Well, he's claiming to be the son of the Georgia Senator.
Yeah, who's your daddy? There you go, sir. And I assure you, David Lucas' daddy was not a plumber, because this is involved in that same ongoing enterprise. Bill Colby's queers out of Fort Bragg are all connected to this drug trafficking operations through both of these criminal enterprises and warring sides of the Harlem Black gangs of Frank Lucas and Nicky Barnes, as depicted in the offer. We see the Barnes angle, and then we see, we see the Italian family siding with both of those sides, and we see that depicted here too with Joe Gallo, right, teaming up with Nicky
every
Barnes.
time, JJ, every time.
Never a plumber. What's your daddy do? Is he an electrician? Oh no, he's an international drug trafficker. Oh, okay.
It's almost like they've never had an honest day of work. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Can I interject real quick? Sorry. So just the one
good,
thing
sir, please.
that stands out, and I don't think I'm the only one who noticed this. So one of the characters, great character actor, Michael Rispoli, is in this movie, and he plays Tommy Lucchese. Well, here's the thing. When The Godfather's being made, Tommy Lucchese's quite dead at that point. He died in 1967. That's a little bit of a plot hole, to say the least.
That's a good point.
I said he's very well dead. You would have figured they might have gotten that, I don't know, known at that point. I mean, he died the town over from me. He died in Lido Beach. Lido Beach is right.
Who's running Lucchese at that point?
There was a guy named Carmine Tremonti. They called him Mr. Gribbs, but he got popped in relation to the French Connection, which is like, they mentioned that in Goodfellas, when Paulie's talking to Henry about how he's never going to get popped for selling junk or whatnot. I believe by that point, Tony Ducks might have been running things. Tony Ducks Corallo, who he'd get put away for the commission case. He might have been running the day-to-day, but Tremonti was officially the boss. Kind of like the way John Gotti was, even though John Gotti was in jail for like the last 10 years of his life.
He was still running shit from the cell, right, Phil?
He was running with his brothers. He was running with Peter at that point. And surprisingly enough, Gene got out after that long heroin sentence. But yeah,
what was his son's name? John Jr., right?
Yeah, John A. Jr. Gotti.
Again,
with the mob.
We have a technical advisor to the Godfather here, who was the detective in the French Connection. Isn't that strange?
But was he growing up, Gotti?
No, he was. Well,
I grew up Brasso.
So, did you find, like, JJ? Did you find any society connections with any of these top mob guys or anything like that, or not really?
Not to my.
Well, they're all Italian, so
yeah.
Society's more WASP, right? White Anglo-Saxon.
Basically, right. Yeah, and some of the Eastern, Europeans and whatnot.
Your French,
French, Swedes, Czechs, all the royal families of all those Eastern Europeans, Polish. So Mario Biaggi, though, he's an interesting character because he's deeply rooted within the same cult network. We see him there. He's friends with Francois in Los Angeles. At one point, Al Ruddy has got to go make amends with this guy through his wife, the owner of the Chateau Marmont. And at the same time, he's deeply ingrained with shaking down Joe Colombo. And we later find him in 1979 at the Process Church headquarters of Studio 54 and the infamous Roy Cohn's 54th birthday at Studio 54 with Mario Biaggi, right? So we see the same cult fuckers. At the same time, we see other fuckers like Chuck Schumer, all tucked up at that same party. So I'm just saying, a lot of these folks within that network of the enterprises and politics around this, very interesting. So in regards to society,
but they hate each other, JJ.
He's not depicted in the film, but there's a fellow.
Chuck Schumer's boyfriend wife there.
Well, no, he was dating some gossip columnist at the time, apparently.
But they all hate each other, JJ. They're not friends. They've never been friends.
They don't even know each other, according to them. So we do see a Congressman Bingham out of the Bronx at the time. Now, his daughter was one of the Process Church members. She joins out of Claudia Bingham. She joins out of Westchester County, New York, a real den of iniquity. Now, he is very likely a member of the Society of Cincinnati. He's also from the famous explorer Binghams, you know what I mean? Like Binghamton, New York, and that kind of thing.
What about the Jesuit connections with any of this? Have you and Phil or Jonah, have any of you guys uncovered any of this? Because I'm fairly new to the mob topic, really. I haven't done a whole lot of research.
I would suspect Phil's got some statements on that, but look on his face there.
The one thing that this was something I came across, I was thinking of when you guys were just talking about that. I mean, introducing that part was, I remember reading the biography about Jimmy the Weasel Fratiano, who was out in LA, but he was also like multi-family connected, and talking about, I believe it was the Knights of Malta, and trying to get.
I would think it would be more Knights of Malta.
How'd I suspect? I was either thinking Jesuits or the Knights of Malta.
Yeah. Well, did you happen to notice nothing to do with the mob?
And guess what? Malta's actually known for? I've been doing some deep dive into this. Malta is one of the headquarters for gambling, such as online poker, online casinos of that nature.
JJ, those books that I sent you from Peter Vander, did you get to go through them yet? And did you see any of the old cartography he has of the Malta fucking underground shit in 1700s?
No, I haven't got a chance to look at that, sir. I definitely will.
I think that it's in the 3 that I sent you, but if not, I'll have to find them and I'll send them to you later, or I'll come with them for the next episode.
Yes, sir. Well, speaking of all this mafia activity, we do get introduced to Mickey Cohen of the Jewish mafia angles there in Los Angeles. He's an interesting character because not only is he very powerful within the Hollywood scene, as we see, he was friends with Anton LaVey. In fact, we see here he was part of the Flamingo operations of opening up that hotel casino. LaVey's uncle was a made man in the Jewish mafia from Chicago. He was also involved. LaVey was there with him. And we also see this matter of folks like Warren Zevon, another guy, the Laurel Canyon scene. In fact, his father was part of that scene as well, it appears. So we see these interesting intersection in Hollywood of a bunch of these cult fuckers, Laurel Canyon, the mafia, and Satanism.
Gambling too, right? Still going on.
Let's be honest. What happens in Vegas stays in Langley until you do not cooperate.
That's a good point, sir, because what many folks don't understand is the folks who founded Vegas were, in fact, the CIA and the Air Force. They were part of the same National Security Act of 1947, which eradicated free speech in America. They are the same organization still today, I would dispute. And in fact, they're the ones who founded Vegas, along with folks like the Hamblin family of the Mormon fame. There's Mormon Satanist fame from Kanab, Utah. You know where the process is today. That Hamblin fellow who founded Kanab was the guy who founded Area 51, the land in which Area 51 sits today. Don't think these things are by coincidence. An ancient alien cargo cultist of that kind of nature is the one who founded this alien place, as they claim.
The Louisiana.
Can I point out that
JJ,
RR? Can I point out RR says that the Knights of Malta saved Europe?
Yeah, he's got a lot of preposterous claims, doesn't he? That RR. It's good comedy. I like it.
I still think he needs to come on as long as he wants to show his face. I'm willing to host a conversation with RR. Like I said, I'm willing to give him a free Patreon subscription just to have the shenanigans over there too.
The mob connection through the Louisiana gang too, JJ. You have the Fertitta brothers running. They were kind of like one of the head starts there in Vegas during the 50s.
For sure. So we see Betty
McCarty. Dana White is self-made. Dana White is completely self-made.
We see. We may go through the rest of these characters. I don't know what the hell some big noise just went on outside. Give me a second, folks. Okay. I'll be right back. But yeah, Betty McCarty. Go ahead with whatever RR was commenting. I'll be right back with you.
You said Dana White was self-made. Isn't Dana White Shit.
The UFC guy who's the bitch.
Yeah,
for
that's Fertitas. He was connected to the Fertitta brothers too.
Yeah, no, they own the UFC or whatever, and I mean, there's absolutely zero mafia connection to boxing, and definitely none tied to fucking what's his name with the retarded hair, the one that killed the child. King. Yeah, the one who killed the child.
Don King killed 2 people.
No, he killed a child though.
No, well, no, I never knew about a child. I knew he pistol whipped someone to death and claimed self-defense. Pistol whipped someone and shot a woman instead of self-defense.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the pistol whipping, he killed a child. It was actually the child of the guy who owed it. It wasn't. It
wouldn't surprise me.
But yeah, no, and then he actually allegedly he got turned in because when he did that, he brought too much fucking heat, so he was told to turn himself in. So that's why I got that conviction. And then when he came out, he's the biggest promoter in boxing, only in America.
Typical. Well, in regards to Betty McCart here, the underling to Al Ruddy, we see her whole career gets propelled through this series and the offer via the Godfather situations. She's kind of the national security state's helper behind the scenes in Hollywood, it seems. She becomes a super agent of sorts. I believe she's actually
and Ruddy funds her, alleges.
Well, yeah, she's behind the scenes and stuff. She's deeply ingrained in Scientology activities behind the scenes around Travolta, the Coppolas, Talia Shire, situations like that. John Travolta's. She's the agent of Burt Reynolds, Tom Selleck, Wilford Brimley. So speaking of Las Vegas, Wilford Brimley was the bodyguard to Howard Hughes back during the Howard Hughes era of Las Vegas when he was an owner there, the Stardust, right? And amongst other properties. And Wilford Brimley got his start as a Howard Hughes bodyguard because Howard Hughes hired Mormons. And Wilford Brimley's a Mormon. So she would be Wilford Brimley's agent. And he would bring us a lot of ancient alien cargo cult tales in the 80s, like Cocoon and whatnot. But nonetheless, she's an agent of sorts behind the scenes, it seems, amongst many of these kind of deep state national security kind of characters.
And I don't trust this broad that plays her just on the fact that her name is Juno. I mean,
Juno Temple, dude, that sounds pretty occult if you ask me. There's no way. Is that her real name?
You have all the ties to Jupiter, obviously, right? It's just the whole fucking, I wonder if that's her real name. I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah, I was going to look that up, but I was going to look something else up here because she's actually satirically represented like Dustin Hoffman does Cocaine Bob, or like we were saying, his Cocaine Bob's buddy George Hamilton does a satirical take about him. So homegirl here, she's appears in the film, the series Entourage, by starring, and she's played by Al Pacino's baby mama, Beverly D'Angelo. So we have another connection back here to the whole scene.
Oh, so check this out. Juno Temple was born in Hammersmith area of London in 1989, the daughter of film producer Amanda Peary and film director Julian Temple. And the 2 younger brothers, her aunt Nina Temple was the last general secretary of the Communist Party of Great Britain.
Typical. So I do think there's a lot of instances where they're just, these folks are just telling tales about their friends, And again, we see, I think that's interesting. I'm trying to find the character she plays in Entourage. It's not coming up at the moment, but it's interesting because, again, she's played then by Al Pacino's baby mama, Beverly D'Angelo. So it's interesting because it goes right back to the same group of folks, right?
But if she's the daughter of 2 film directors, I mean, is it a she or a he?
Well, I mean, you ask me, she don't have a lot of female qualities, but.
And Beverly D'Angelo had a liaison with Bob Evans.
There you go, sir. I was about to say, because again, she's part of that same network. They're a bunch of sex cultists telling their tales, in my opinion. And again, we have an Ippolito in the mix too, don't we? So back to the Ippolito tales. There's a lot of Ippolitos in the Mafia stuff relative to Cocaine Bob and friends. James Caan, star of The Godfather, one of Bob Cocaine's stable of actors. He would later house Joey Ippolito in that whole cocaine trafficking situation, and other mobsters around the whole Orenthal James Simpson case murders. Revolving around drug trafficking again, and revolving around Bill Colby's son, Carl Colby. Salute to RR channel for that one. What's up with the Ippolitos? So we got Gallows, we got Ippolitos. You know what I mean? It's just, they're just telling their tales, right?
Well, we have Ippolito or we have Eppolito. We have Eppolito, who was the Mafia cop who'd be in a few mob movies before his own big mouth took him down. But Ippolito connected in another way. Yeah, it's and who knows? In Italian names, they could be related, in some form, just changing the spelling at some point.
Yeah, when they landed at Ellis Island, right? A lot of people just changed like one letter.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's so crazy to me, like just all the Italian, it always confused me because like Italian names are so similar. You know what I mean? They're like a Ukrainian last name or something.
This guy's the same family as the Ippolitos. That's what I'm saying. The Gallows is the same family as the Gallows, like Crazy Joe Gallo, and this guy's a part of the Ippolito family. This is confirmed. This is they discussed this.
But I just got a fun fact for the next guy you showed, or the one you showed before this, the Brando.
Yeah, what's up with that guy? I don't know much about him.
He's on Grey's Anatomy back in the day. He was on Grey's Anatomy.
I don't know too much about that, but so Al Ruddy produced his first movie in 55 or 65. I think it was 65 for Warner 65. Brothers, which was actually purchased in 57 by Marlon Brando's film company.
Well, it's interesting. So this film really got Brando back, right? He'd been basically blacklisted over the whole commie business, right?
That and bad movies. I think they said he'd done like 4 duds in a row. But yeah, I mean, he was NAACP. He was March on DC. He was, I mean, I'm sure communists might have come up too, but he was also very active. And
he hired that fake Indian to accept his Oscar for this film, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah. Yes, he did. Yeah. The one who accused John Wayne of being, racist towards her, but then it turns out she wasn't even, Native American.
Right, exactly. So we see Brando. He often does not get described within the whole process, church, Manson family situations. He is deeply ingrained within Cocaine Bob and gang. We see in The Offer, and I think it's episode 3 when they go try to recruit Brando into the film. We see them doing that while Cocaine Bob's trying to get Jack. They're trying to Cocaine Bob's trying to get Jack Nicholson to play him. Well, the rest of Al Ruddy and gang is getting Brando. They go to Brando's house. Well, here's the deal. Brando and Nicholson's house is about 50 feet apart from one another. They share the same driveway. So you mean to tell me that all of these things, these people are all friends. So the way they depict this whole situation, I think is kind of preposterous, but we do see them, Cocaine Bob going after Jack Nicholson, Al Ruddy and gang is going after Brando at the same time. And allegedly neither party knows one another's activities is how they depict it.
Yeah. And they were thinking Olivier and there was some other, again, some people might've had their initial candidates in mind, kind of like the way Coppola had Pacino in mind, but I said, the back and forth on some of these things. But I do remember coming across where they were like with Brando, they're like, yeah, he's poison, he's he's washed up, and things like that. And I mean,
and then he proved them wrong with. Sorry, I was gonna say he proved them wrong with his Emmy speech.
Yeah, I mean, he, and it's funny enough, despite everything that happened after with the Godfather, Coppola would still use him for Apocalypse Now, and that would turn into the shit show that would turn into with Brando being 100 pounds overweight and all the other stuff that would happen on that movie.
And again, we're talking about more
good one.
So Francis Ford Coppola, if you aren't familiar, he would later produce a film in the 80s called Dollhouse or Clown House. And that was where he hired his friend Silva as the director, who then raped one of the children on the set, got convicted during the filming.
Jesus.
Coppola had that child come back over to his house and do the post-editing on the film in the same place the kid got raped by the same guy he hired. So that's Francis Ford Coppola for you.
That's great parenting.
All around, right? A bunch of shitbags, if you ask me, right? Parents, all these folks, right?
I mean, as bad as these people are, the parents are the ones who are allowed it to happen. And
I don't disagree, sir. I don't disagree at all. They're all guilty parties.
Yeah.
But I would argue, though, that he got involved in this because he's part of the same sex cult activities.
Was Coppola involved with the Matthew Broderick Brando family business fake? I thought he might have been.
The Freshman?
I thought it was family business, but
family business was
Brando
Dustin Hoffman
and Broderick,
and Sean Connery. Yeah, Broderick and Broderick and Brando was the Freshman.
Okay, was he involved with that one?
I'm not sure. Okay, no, I mean, at least not in terms of directing. And when Brando, I guess, was approached about the role, he was basically saying like it would be sort of a parody, but not making fun of Vito Corleone. You know, like in terms of that role. I saw that
it was kind of a takeoff point, wasn't it?
I was just wrong on that one. I'll admit to it. I thought Coppola was involved, but no, I just looked it up. He's not.
So this is the '89 Clown House. I don't know if Sam Rockwell got diddled. He was one of the children on that. It was his first performance, I believe. But this Nathan Forrest Winters, he did get diddled, and then that's the kid who Coppola had come back after Victor Salva gets convicted during the production of the film.
So, that's the same guy from Jeepers Creepers. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Didn't he do? I thought he did Powder too. He was involved with Powder.
I think he did. Yep.
Yeah, Disney had no problem hiring him after prison for Powder, did they?
You know, it's kind of funny because I just read about how no one's allowed to die on the Disney property, and yet apparently no problem with kids being fucked. You know, that's
that's an interesting.
What about the kid that got ate by the alligator?
Man. What there was? Yeah, that was the first one officially that died on the property because there was a maintenance man that got decapitated in the Disneyland property there in California, and they're like, no, take him off property. He got decapitated off property.
No, he was alive when they were transporting him. He didn't get pronounced to the hospital. Come on.
Right. Well, that's the game.
His head was not attached to his body, but he was still alive in the ambulance.
Well, that's what the article said, was that they if someone has cardiac arrest, they will keep working them until they can get them into, an emergency vehicle. And then, they pronounce them, Orlando or Anaheim, wherever it is that's off the Disney property. So they'd be like, well, we tried. He didn't die here, though, But yeah.
I picked something up over the weekend, JJ. I just want to show you it real quick.
Oh, my back. So we get a Scientologist playing Joe Colombo. What's that about?
I mean, Scientology is a secret society. They're a secret society.
They're basically that's how the CIA launders their money, through their church funds.
Well, no. Even before the CIA, it all goes back to the Club of 300. Is it really that far of a stretch?
No.
I mean, that's a good point. And then we can see Frank Sinatra in the film. We see a lot of Rosemary's Babies references, obviously, and we see Mia Farrow in there with him, which is his daughter/wife at the time. Allegedly his daughter. Allegedly.
JJ, what question are you avoiding?
Dude, I think this guy wants me to talk about iron. I used to think that was the symbol for gold, but I think it's Effie's iron. And or flat Earth, which again, it's such an obscure question. I don't even need to address it. So,
hey,
Frank Sinatra always an interesting character.
I'm not going to say that I said if we're going to bring up flat Earth, I'm not going to say that I'm a flat Earth guy, but I can tell you that the globe they tell us is a fucking lie. Because even if you go on Google Maps and you start playing with the latitude and longitudes, neither north or south or east or west adds up to 180. Just say
no. That globe was introduced.
That right there, you're citing is one of my fundamental rules in life: never trust a Nazi.
Never trust a Nazi. That's true.
Wait. But did you see last month? Wait. Donald Trump signed an executive order that NASA is no longer a space agency; it's now a spy agency.
I thought you were going to say they were no longer Nazis by executive.
Right, like they haven't been for the past 70 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So who exactly is Frank Sinatra? I mean, he's a powerful character, it seems, in this storyline. He's got enough to cause disruption to the production of this film, right?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, he still had clout, even though, I mean, let's face it, he'd kind of had like ebbs and flows, obviously. As he would say, the boys were always there. He was mob backed back when he was a singer in Hoboken. But I think that was the whole thing. Like he believed Puzo based Johnny Fontane off of him. And in the end, he wanted to flex that muscle. He'd been tired of the fact that these mob allegations have been dogging him for years, even though they were true. It cost him the Cal Neva, ownership, because he was letting guys who were in the black book, like Sam Giancana, into the place. And then I think he got into a screaming match with a Nevada gaming official, because there was a whole thing where that popped up, and where JFK, back when he was still friends with Sinatra, questioned Grant Sawyer, who was, I believe, the governor of Nevada, and said, "Why are you hassling my friend Mr. Sinatra?" And I think Sawyer said, Mr. President, you run your government, I'll run mine, sort of thing. Sinatra didn't get that license back until the early 80s, because I remember one of the things they brought up was the Westchester Premier Theater, and that infamous photograph, one of my favorites, where it's him with his arm around Paul Castellano, Carlo Gambino, Jimmy Fradiano, Louis Domes Pacella, Greg De Palma. It was like a murderer's row of mob guys. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't know. They just told me, these VIPs were coming. Who was I to say no to them?" It's like, come on. Like, he didn't know who they were. But yeah, he didn't.
This one down in Westchester County?
Yes.
Real den of iniquity, sir. Real den of iniquity up there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm drawing a blank on this, but I feel like I'm in Double Cross on the Sam Giancana story. They talk a lot about Frank Sinatra too, but I could be wrong on that. Sometimes when you do so much research, all that shit blends together, at least on my end.
No, they definitely mentioned. There was the movie the year Sinatra died, The Rat Pack, the one with Ray Liotta playing him, and when there was a story that the Chicago mob was going to have him killed, or discussed it based off the quote unquote double cross from JFK, and having Bobby
with the black Luciferian too, right?
Yeah.
That black Luciferian, and then Dean Martin and Don Rickles, and that's a high class quality of people.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're all Satanists, every one of them. Peter Lawford, Kennedy brother-in-law.
Sinatra was backed by a guy. So they tell the story, the band leader story in Godfather about Johnny Fontane. And that's supposed to be, it's not, obviously there is no Vito Corleone, but the guy, the story who it's based off of was a guy named Willie Moretti, who was out of New Jersey. And Moretti backed Sinatra, got him his first start, and that he had threatened Tommy Dorsey, who was the band leader that Sinatra was with, to get him out of the contract. Willie Moretti was later on the beneficiary, we can call it that, of the mob mercy killing, because he contracted syphilis and went in front of the Kefauver hearings and started kind of just talking out of school, and he'd be killed. I think it was 51. They took him out, but they called it a mercy killing. And Sinatra, Sinatra kind of just gravitated towards whatever mob guy gave him the time of day. And the story was he shared Judith Campbell with Sam Giancana, possibly Johnny Roselli, possibly JFK. It depends what you read, because I think a lot of the stuff with JFK, there is some truth, and there's also stuff where it's just, digging dirt on a dead man.
Sure.
But yeah, Sinatra, he loved palling around with these guys. I still think the one guy that they reference in the offer, Gilly Rizzo, I think they call him a restaurateur, but also an actor. I think he was also a mob guy too. He'd get busted.
Oh, Giovanni Russo?
No, Gilly Rizzo was the one guy. Johnny Russo claims he's got these extensive mob ties.
Yeah, he's got a lot of tails, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, he even popped up in Growing Up Gotti. He was trying to court Victoria Gotti at a point, and they always see him as like a nuisance. Like, he's a guy who just pops up in so many things. He's basically the guy you want to kill in a movie. That's kind of the thing about him.
Yeah, that's kind of, they depict him that way in the offer, though, right? That's a pretty accurate depiction.
Yep. Absolutely. He's a guy who just
kind of looks like the head coach from Alabama, Nick Saban.
Well, it's funny enough. He pops up. He's in. He was in Any Given Sunday. He had like a small supporting role in that movie. Yeah, he's still acting. They still
another Al Pacino movie.
JJ, in the comments, I can't even type Armenian genocide in the chat.
Oh, dude, I don't know what's going on with Armenian genocide right now.
No, we were just talking about.
Oh.
Hey, wait.
I'm not
area
up to speed. I'm not up to speed.
Anytime I have to type it in, I just JENN space O space SIDE.
Yeah, but you're not even allowed to say it, dude. Like that's an issue. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is? I mean, that's what.
Well, I mean, they don't want anyone talking about what's happening right now in the West Bank. I'll stop.
Again, free speech was eradicated via the National Security Act of 1947, which is a bunch of fucking Nazis.
We never had free speach. Oh wait, I'm the only one here.
It was better off than it was today. How about that? Well,
in Canada, we never had it, though.
I'm just saying. I'm in America. You could argue the same, sir. That's what I'm saying. But it was better off prior to 1947.
What's YouTube's argument, though? I mean, what's their side of the story?
They're Nazis.
It is Mr. AA told them that they're not allowed to say it. Just move the letter forward one letter.
Yeah. Allie McGraw, we meet. She is Cocaine Bob's girlfriend or wife, I apologize, and baby mama to his son Josh Evans, and she leaves him for my fifth cousin McQueen, Steve McQueen, and going back to West Virginia, there, sir, Logan County. Steve Landon.
McQueen. Why does that sound familiar?
Cincinnati kid, starting opposite Tuesday Will.
70s.
Oh, okay.
Bullet, the Getaway. Oh yeah,
the Getaway. He was supposed to be. He was
Gone
supposed
60
to be.
Seconds, which Nicolas Cage remade.
There you go, sir. Nicholas Coppola. Let's call him by his legal name. Then we see that Steve McQueen was supposed to be at the Manson house along with Cocaine Bob that night. Tate Polanski house on August 9th. August 8th, August 9th, according to their own admissions. And McQueen's like, yeah, I met a lady at a gas station and hooked up with her, never made it. So, he was part of that same group, though. And again, shortly thereafter, she leaves around 1971 leaves Cocaine Bob for Steve McQueen and marries him.
But she attended the award ceremony with him and Kissinger. At least according to the movie. Oh, wait, I'm getting ahead. That's like the last.
Well, no, but that's accurate. She does come back there.
Yeah, she did.
But that's what I'm getting at. And that's a good point. So that's what I'm getting at. They're all part of a sex cult. So these matters of marriage are not. They're not as defined as folks want to imply they are to be. This is exhibited
open marriage
very, very, very frequently. Right? They're very liberal with the idea of marriage, and they're always swapping partners. Yeah. And we see that in sex cult activities.
But
we see the sexual activities mentioned in this film. In episode 2, sir, if I may real quick, we see out of a very gratuitous and pointless scene in the series, Cocaine Bob throwing a party at his Hollywood Hills home. Yep. And some lady says, Bob, when are you going to put me in the films? And he says, honey, I've already put you in the films. And then they all chuckle.
Yeah. I was going to say, though, a lot of that is...
They were filming, though, at the Tate Polanski house, infamously.
Yeah. I was going to say, though, a lot of that, the marriage aspect where they openly, what they're doing is destroying the family. That's part of the communist playbook, destruction of the family. So when all these people
does exactly that, sir, they espouse the Marxist values of eradicating the family and the middle class.
So when all these celebrities, all these predictive programming, like the kids grow up seeing that their favorite stars banging like 6 different women or 6 different dudes or whatever, right?
Right.
And again, too, that's everything that fucking Albert Ruddy does in his career. I'll get to that in a few moments, but
that's the rap game now, right?
No, they're all into wearing dresses because basically to me the rap game today, I mean, it's no different than Slayer was to white kids in the 80s. It's all Luciferian right from everything, especially with that the Jay-Z and Beyonce who were hanging out with Jared Kushner and
cargo cultist, sir.
They're hanging out with they're hanging out with Ivanka and Jared last night in Atlantic City or 2 nights ago. Jay-Z and Beyonce, and there's
ancient alien cargo cultists like to stick together. So,
why do you think they want to destroy the middle class, though? You know what I mean?
It's part of their, the degradation of society, man. That's the age of Horus. That is what Crowley called for.
Well, not even just that. I would even say, though, too, a lot of it is just that, that's why they fuck their cousins over and over because they think they're entitled to rule, and then they don't want to they don't want to break down their bloodline. So because they have the same fucking family pole instead of a tree, they think they're entitled, and then you'll get.
Hey, I got evidence of what you're describing right now.
So do you think David Icke's right in that reference of bloodlines?
Well, bloodlines. I mean, even if you read some of the Red Shield's own books, so we don't want to say too much for YouTube, but if you read even some of the Red Shield book, they'll tell you right up that they allegedly go back to Nimrod, but at the same time, they were just poor ghetto slums until Meyer, right? So yeah, I don't buy any of that, but. The bloodlines is I mean, it's not hard to look at European royalty and say, yeah, no, the bloodlines are bloodlines. And even if you look at the Irish, they say that they first came from what the fuck's her name? T something. She's the last daughter of Judah, and she ends up being the first queen of Ireland and marries the king of Scotland. That's how. So I mean, like you don't need to go to David Icke. You just need to read their own fucking fiction folklore.
Right.
That's a solid point, sir. And before we get into Al Ruddy, I'd like to hold that thought because he is an interesting character, and you have a lot of details on deck for us. I hear
we share the same birthday.
Hold that thought, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, did you say yes, sir?
I think he said, yeah, sure. What'd you say, man?
Well, I said, yeah, sure. But literally what I said was, yeah, sure, sir.
Al Ruddy, huh? Maybe.
Yeah, well, it comes from the Hellfire Club way before that fucking piece of shit. What's his name? Oh, yeah, Crowley.
So, Al Ruddy, dude, we to believe that Mr. Rand Corporation pops up out of nowhere to make this Nazi sitcom, Hogan's Heroes, starring Bob Crane, who's deeply ingrained in this, snuff film, pedophilia, photography kind of business it seems, right? And, it seems to lead to his death years later there. And we see, oh, dude.
Oh, my God. Infamous Bob
Phil,
Crane.
Phil's probably got some details for us. So what do you got there, Phil?
Bob Crane or
Bob
Crane?
Green? No, Bob Crane. C-R-A-N-E. So he was the star. He was the star of Hogan's Heroes. But
he also make noise though.
He also had like his own like radio show, like Morning Zoo type of stuff. But at some point, he gets into like he was a big like early like consumer pioneer of like video technology.
Yeah, him and Richard Dawson, right? Who would date raped every lady on Family Feud on camera.
Pretty much, yeah. And so, but at some point, his proclivities kind of became known, and he winds up hooking up with a guy named John Carpenter, who starts not the movie director John Carpenter, but a guy named John Carpenter who introduces him to like I guess more advances in video recording technology, and they start recording. Like first, I think with with Crane, it was like pictures, but then it became video. And him and Carpenter get in like real deep into this. And at some point, the story goes, Crane wants to distance himself from Carpenter because it's hurting his career. Like he's doing dinner theater by the time he's murdered. He's out in, I believe it's Scottsdale, Arizona. And they find him bludgeoned with, I think it was a video tripod. And there was some evidence pointing back to Carpenter, but the Scottsdale PD royally fucked up the case. And interestingly enough, one of the people who wrote a book that would go on to be the movie about it, which was autofocus, was Robert Graysmith, the cartoonist at the San Francisco, I think it was the Chronicle, who also wrote the Zodiac book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and look who the folks were at his funeral, John Aston and Patty Duke. Patty Duke was a bridesmaid for the Polanskis at the Polanski Tate wedding. And she moved out of Hollywood with her husband, John, there, I believe. And they moved 2.5 miles away from the Aryan Nation's compound and just outside of Hayden Lake, Idaho. So I'm just saying, processings are going to process, if you ask me.
I'm sure he had some 8mm on him, right? Bob Crane.
Well, that's
they probably took them all. They probably took them all as evidence or blackmail material. I mean, in some form.
He had some advanced shit, man. He didn't just have 8mm. He had some advanced Sony shit.
So
his son.
Scary,
I just wonder.
You think they could implant like fake shit, like fake CP onto your like videotape or whatever.
Oh yeah,
back
they do
then,
that all
you
the
know what I
time.
mean? No, I know they do that now, but I'm saying like back in the 70s, you know what I mean?
Well,
Where
then you just had to throw a magazine and then the
Well,
trunk of
I
your
always
car.
ask the
just, like,
question,
take
why
a
would you need to
bag
go
of weed
through?
in
Why
it.
can't you just go ahead, sir?
I was gonna say that back then they just threw the magazine in the back of your car or the pictures, and instead of like like when they pull you over and they throw a bag of weed in there, and all of a sudden you got a 5-year sentence.
You don't even need to do that though. You just need to have an officer write an affidavit saying you found it, and that's all you need to do. I assure you, there's the ideas of planting evidence. You don't need to take photographs or actually produce the evidence. We've seen it in the Idaho 4 case. To date, no one's seen this alleged knife sheath. So even the defense has been restricted from seeing this alleged knife sheath. So my point being is that is how these frame jobs work. There's no need to plant the actual evidence. You just say you found it. There's no need to produce it. You just say you found it.
Right. Yeah, there doesn't even there doesn't have to be any evidence either.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, dude. People like to get real convoluted about it. Like, well, they got to get the gun and do that. No, you don't. You just write it down on paper. So you found.
What was his name? Paddock. Stephen Paddock's brother got popped for it. The guy
we
that
found
just
child porn on him, right? Yep.
The guy that shot Trump, allegedly shot at Trump or had a gun, was going to shoot Trump. What was his name?
Ruth.
Hey, his trial's going on right now, but you notice no one is covering that trial.
Yeah, dude, he's defending himself, making the most Looney Tune statements imaginable.
Actually, there's one guy who's covering it that I see on Twitter because I follow him. Ken Silva.
Okay.
He's the one guy covering that.
Oh, is he covering it?
Nobody.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He does cover a lot of that kind of shit, doesn't he? Headlines.
Did you know?
USA.
Did you know that guy was in a YouTube video of a pretty big YouTuber I used to watch named Gideon?
Did you know his wife was an executive director for Les Wexner?
Yeah. I knew that. That was.
I'm sorry, a district manager for Les Wexner's corporation.
And he had like a $4 million house in Hawaii or some shit.
That's who he lived with. That was her
right.
home.
Yeah, it was just definitely weird. And he was doing recruitments over there in where was it? Afghanistan or some shit.
I just thought of that. Can we just point out that it's KK and RR? Oh, I just figured out our channel, Ryan Ruth.
Yep.
Oh wow, that's him.
Oh, I like your idea that maybe it's Cato Kalin trying to shit coat the Orenthal James Simpson matters because that wasn't OJ's buddy. That was Nicole's buddy who lived next door to Carl Colby. Oh, that old Kalin. Very likely Scientologist too, amongst the rest of them fuckers.
So yeah, dude, it's crazy.
Let's get on to these Al Ruddy situations. So I'm led to believe that Al Ruddy comes from the Rand Corporation CIA situation where, again, the head of that corporation in the same city at the same time was mentoring the future neoconservatives, Paul Wolfowitz and gang there in Laurel Canyon. And that's told in Dave McGowan's Weird Scenes Inside the Canyon is where I learned that one. But
yeah, but
I really believe the CIA guy makes this Nazi stuff starring sex cultists like Bob Crane and then goes on to just suddenly become this huge film producer, right? Is that really how it goes?
Can I just point out that the Republicans are all fucking retarded? Because ever since 1968, they've been taken over by Irving Kristol and all his fucking little disciples. And wait, he was a Marxist-Leninist by his own admission? You're a
that's like trying to tell me Barry Goldwater is somehow conservative.
Mike Huckabee, too.
And
there you go. Mike Huckabee is a good example.
As Carlin says, it's a big
club.
Well,
if it wasn't for folks like old Barry Goldwater, and Nelson, his buddy Nelson Rockefeller, we wouldn't have folks like rising stars Republican Party Ted Bundy. Bill Colby.
But I'm just gonna say, without small government, you wouldn't have the National Guard being forced into every American city, or at least attempted to be forced into every city right now. Without small government. So, anyway, but that's besides the point. Let's jump into Albert Ruddy.
That goes pretty deep, sir. That goes pretty deep. I both agree and disagree with a lot of the things going on right
now. So, like I said earlier, when I first watched this show, I was sick, and then, like the first thing that when I think it was the third or fourth mention of the Rand Corporation that finally caught me because I was kind of under the weather, and so right away I rewound it and started digging into Al Ruddy, You know, the Rand Corporation, let's go ahead. Was it Operation Sunrise where they're body snatching and stealing body parts and grave robbing so that they could go ahead and test radiation on human bodies? So that's just the quality corporation that he worked for. But so I just wanted to point out on the first two slides here that both his names listed as executive producer, and it says based on Albert S. Ruddy's experience of the making of The Godfather. So, I mean, based on some of the things that are left out, I mean, it's probably on his drug-induced amnesia, so to speak. Obviously, a lot about, you know, the whole zero shit in the first episode. They have the pitch meeting, which is just weird as fuck. But digging into this motherfucker, you know, everything about him is just it's all predictive programming. Like I said, oh yeah, this scene here is when he's allegedly working at Rand Corporation, but not really, because he is a contractor before he got picked up by Warner Brothers, and then he was hired on to train at the Rand Corporation as a programmer. But this was 1972. Who just hires? You know,
he's an architect by trade, though, right?
Yeah. So
reminds me a lot, sir, of Timothy Wiley and Robert Grimston, the founders, some of the founders there of the Process Church, the Final Judgment. They were also architects.
Yeah. And,
so was John Wayne Gacy.
One thing that jumped out.
So was John Wayne Gacy. Yes. Thank you, sir.
And since we're talking about that, I always like to point out that the majority of these eugenicists are retarded zoo doctors or zoologists. You know, they all have these eugenic philosophies. You know, Huxley and a bunch of them, but they all studied for zoology and not human biology. So that's just another point. But
sure. Well, Huxley's grandfather brought us the propaganda behind the Darwin theories of evolution.
Yeah, well, Galt first, right?
Julian Huxley, right?
No, T.W. Huxley was his grandfather.
Oh, yeah, Julian was my apologies.
Julian was the brother who was the first. He gave us the term transhumanism, and he was the first UN general director of UNESCO.
There you go, sir. There you go, sir. And old Aldous Huxley dies in 11/22/63, and he lived right next door to Marlon Brando and Jack Nicholson.
And I mean, let's be honest, Brave New World is overrated.
Sure.
But so here, according to Wikipedia, it says that after the short stint in Warner Brothers, he moved on to become a programmer trainee at the Rand Corporation in Santa Monica. Now, to me, that just sounds like he's a human programmer and not a computer programmer, because who the fuck out hires him is just to, like, you know what I mean? This is 1970s. People didn't have computers at their desks. These were like big ass fucking entire schoolroom, you know.
No, you're right, dude. Yeah, no, you're totally right there. And we see him in the film talking about contracts.
Yeah, well, let's go back to that picture though. Like everything about this here is the architect desk, you know. He's got the triangle here in the bottom left corner, so everything about this is showing that. But then the immediate next scene, and I think this is the first hint of esotericism or in it, is the guy goes, "Oh, what do you do for a living again?" And he's like, "Oh, I've told you 13 times. You think this is the one that's going to stick?" And the 13 just jumps out at me, because who the fuck says that as a matter of phrase? You know, it's like, "Oh, I told you a dozen times. I told you 10 times." Who picks 13? I mean, that's maybe
a good point. And then immediately following that statement, we meet Bob Cocaine Evans for the first time, and Al Ruddy says, "Who's that?" And he says, "That's the infamous film head of Paramount, Bob Evans there," and he says he's got more connections than God.
And depending on how you look at the 13, well, obviously you get the Templars connection with the 13, but depending on how you look at the 13 in the tarot, it's either the Hanged Man or Death, if I'm not mistaken. I looked it up earlier, but I think those are the two cards that, if you count the 0 or the 1, you know what I mean? The Fool or the Joker is, no, the Fool is the 0 or 1, right? Just so, but then I went into here. And every single one of these movies, Wild Seed, Little Fawcett, Big Halsey, Making It, Longest Yard, All of these are predictive programming and breaking down the societal values that already exist. Coonskin, fantastic. Again, it's the one that comes after Fritz the Cat, the same animator. It's an animated, and it's actually featuring Barry White is the main voice. But even here, if you look on his television, he was on Lloyd Bridges' show in '53, according to this.
Yeah, the Bridges are an interesting family. They're one of those multi-generational ones, like the Douglases and the Carradines and the Barrymores and the fucking so on, the Houstons and so on and so forth.
Now, the other one that I find
the Dukes, the Astons, right? Because I didn't realize this. The Goonie himself, Bill was just telling me here backstage. The Goonie himself, Sean Astin's now the head of SAG-AFTRA. That's a very powerful position.
Now, the other thing that I find really interesting under the television there, 1976, Revenge for a Rape. What the fuck is that?
Yeah,
that's a television show or a television whatever miniseries? What the?
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare, dude. Is that a horror film?
So I went with the first one, Wild Seed. Here again, this is just quick synopsis. Like she runs away from her family again, breaking family values. The Marxist or the process, or even before that, Clinton Roosevelt, and
doesn't he bring us Air America with Mel Gibson, Robert Downey Jr. talking about Colby's queers?
So that's just an interesting one. Then this is the movie that they're talking about in the offer, right? Because he flies out to get Robert Redford to star in this movie, Little Foss and Big Halsey. I mean, even if you just look at the plot real quick, it seems kind of like pedo-ish, like a professional dirt bike racer being friends like a teenager or whatever.
Oh, and the guy he started with, in my opinion, is a pedo.
So again,
everything
this
plays
is,
dude, he screams petter, dude. You can't convince me otherwise. The guy he stars in that with.
Okay. Now wait till you see the next one.
Right?
No, I don't. But I was going to say the
Pollard?
Next one, Making It is a straight up pedo movie. It's a 17-year-old who seduces what's it say here? Lives in a small apartment with a young single mother, but in it he gets an older woman, and it's all about his sexual experiences and shit.
My maester, hold on one second, please. Let's take a look at this cover of this film. Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
What about the cover of Making It? If you can pull that one up.
Let me pull that one up. Making It? Who does that one?
That's 1971, Making It.
That's Ruddy?
Yeah. That's the next one he does before The Godfather, which they don't ever mention in this show either, but they sure do talk about Chinatown a lot.
Right. And then they did Longest Yard, right? Longest Yard was Betty McCart. Again, she's Burt Reynolds' agent. Burt Reynolds' best friend is a friend of Operation GCD, John Barber. And John Barber was Frank Sinatra's personal writer there at that same time, leading up there in the late 60s when he was the Tonight Show host. Just saying, a lot of these folks know each other.
Yeah, and while you had that up, I was just looking here over the plot of, so again, too, it talks about, the girl wants to get married. Phil convinces her mother, who also tries to seduce him, that her daughter should get an abortion instead. So again, too, everything that this guy
so this is
doing.
written by Peter Bart. So Peter Bart we see in the offer, that's Cocaine Bob's underling.
And Dick Van Patten, who's in it, was good friends with Evans too, because Evans mentioned him a lot in his Kid Stays in the Picture.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, small world, not too small world. But
hey,
yeah.
I hear Cocaine Bob's got more connections than God, apparently, according to the offer.
Yeah, and I'll just point out too, like when you get to the final episode and they want to bring him on as the I go into all these, but when it comes to the end of the whatever the offer, coming on and number this whole thing too. This one here, if you have not seen it, it is Landon probably hasn't, but I'm going to assume that JJ and Phil have both seen Fritz the Cat, right?
I'm familiar with
I've
it.
never seen it.
I'm
I've
familiar
heard about
with
it, but I've never
Oh,
seen it.
yeah, it's this 1970s. So all the cops are pigs in it. All the blacks are crows. It's literally like it's a cat who smokes weed and fucks like all these different. And literally, it's an animated porn. And so Al Ruddy did the follow up, which was called Coonskin. It's the same animator. So again, too, if you look there. So you see how Miss America there is, but there's always it actually talks about it on the next page here because I broke all this down here. Actually, no, yeah, no. Here, wait, real quick. The bottom paragraph there, a black stripper distracts him while he does a LSD cube or whatever. So that just kind of gives you a hint. But then now the bottom paragraph on this page, it says the main plot of the film is interspersed with animated vignettes depicting white, blonde, large-breasted Miss America who personifies the United States. In each of these short scenes, she seduces a man who represents the African-American populace only to instead beat or kill them. So again, he's just a fantastic driver.
That's a wholesome family film, sir. That's a wholesome family film, I think.
Well, I mean, if no one's ever seen it, I mean,
all these dude, that's what I'm getting at. All these scumbags, they perpetrate these ideas in society that denigrate the family, society at large, and they all know each other. They all hang out with kid diddlers. So this is Robert Redford's co-founder of the Sundance Film Festival. Clint sent me a message yesterday saying R.I.P. Robert Redford. I said one less commie scumbag on this planet, if you ask me, who's friends with kid diddlers. So this Mormon fellow right here is a convicted kid diddler, 6 years to life in prison. He diddled a lot of kids and got convicted of it many years later in many cases like that. But this was Robert Redford's best friend and co-founder of Sundance Film Festival.
Yeah,
they're all a bunch of scumbags.
Yeah.
Evidence would exhibit they are a bunch of scumbags.
This next one here, it's called Megaforce, and basically it's a fake war, etc. I mean, it talks about, you see here on the bottom, like you can see my mouse here, it says a global organization. So it's again, too, when you look into it, I haven't seen this one, but I was just going through them each individually today. I'm like, okay, again, this is another predictive programming. So he won the Oscar for fucking, he won the Oscar for The Godfather, but he doesn't come back on for the second one. So he can do Longest Yard, which kind of glamorizes prison. And then he goes into Coonskin. This one here,
Prison and butt sex, dude. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of weird prison references in that original one, prison sex references.
Yeah.
They kind of dropped it.
Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte, Farewell to the King. He World War II, and he becomes the king of some backwards ass island that because he has blue eyes, and they're headhunters too. So again, too, everything about this motherfucker. And then I jumped in here. So those were just the ones I went to. There's another weird one with Tom Selleck.
Well, that's his wife, dude, Francois. She takes over that Ron Geesh movement.
Yes. Now here. What I found was odd. So the whole premise of this show is how that he ended up what was it? He ended up marrying her, but she's the owner of Chateau Marmont, but it's nowhere listed in her Wikipedia. When I search, it doesn't really come up. But then she's tied to that weird sex cult, and there was something else in here that. Go ahead.
I was just typing to the chat, sir.
Oh, okay. So then I looked up and I went ahead and asked the Google demons, and even this makes no sense. It says so. I asked, did Francois Reddy own the hotel or Chateau Marmont? And it's like, no, Francois Glacier did not own the Chateau Marmont. She was the owner of the iconic hotel at the time she dated Albert S. Ruddy. So what the fuck do you mean?
Yeah, well, it's her husband's got some interesting. The guy she divorced to get it has some interesting connections, if you will. So I think that's probably what goes on. So there's probably a lot of legends around the Chateau Marmont. Phil, you probably know a few of these regarding even matters to the Bay of Pigs situation with like, Jim Belushi's in disregard. Jim Belushi, that's a shitty Belushi. John Belushi's suspicious death there. Then we got, Polanski gets arrested there by Philip Van Adder in 1977. We see there's a lot of weird shit that goes on there.
I mean, Belushi was partying with Robin Williams and Robert De Niro before he overdosed on, what was it, the speedball that he took or whatnot. I said, I guarantee there's tons of shit. I mean, that was a place where Lorne Michaels used to go,
And according to Mark Lane, sir, the infamous author on, the first JFK author there, and then Jonestown attorney, et cetera, weird character, but he claims Belushi called him the night before wanting to talk to him about matters relative to the whole JFK situation. I honestly think that goes through situations like Natalie Wood. These narratives and storylines of these weird deaths around Hollywood, I think, revolve around a lot of the similar subjects. And we see these matters of the JFK situation not far from the whole Godfather crew, including Sinatra.
Yeah.
All right, boys. I think I gotta get ready to run. It's getting kind of late. I got to be up at 4 in the morning. So.
Well, yes, sir. I appreciate you joining us here. Thanks again, Landon, for joining us at GCD. Got any closing thoughts or statements on some of the offer?
It's a really good film so far. Like I said, I'm only 2 episodes in, so I haven't really digested the whole thing. But the whole Rand Corporation is just huge, in my opinion, into this film. You know what I mean? But yeah, looking forward to the next episode of this whenever it drops. It's good seeing you guys. Awesome convo tonight. So thankful to be here.
Good seeing you, Landon.
Yep.
Take care.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys
Put
later.
your links in the chat for Daily Dissident, sir, and we'll look forward to another conversation.
So. Yes, sir.
In the future.
I'll check you guys later. Peace.
So when we're getting into these more issues behind the scenes, what's your take on the whole Joe Gallo situation? Because one thing we see in the film, we see Joe Gallo get out of prison, teaming up with the Nicky Barnes crew of the heroin trafficking and the Colby's crews out of Fort Bragg. That's all documented. We can look at and point to as fact. But we also see them, again, siding with parts of the Italian families that are part of the commission, the Lucchese's. So we see a war going on, it seems, but we also see a war going on in Hollywood. So we see the Colombo family producing The Godfather as depicted in the offer, and Cocaine Bob's got a trade with the MGM director, right, or the head of MGM for Pacino, trades Robert De Niro for Al Pacino to star in The Godfather, and Pacino had been playing it in a film about Joe Gallo. This is being produced at the same time Joe Gallo is feuding and fighting with Colombo and about to murder him, right?
Well,
it was the
first, if Phil doesn't mind. The one thing that jumps in my mind on it is if you look at the whole Gallo and Nicky Barnes situation, it's pretty much a reproduction of Sam Giancana when he's in prison. He gets hooked up with the blacks on the inside, and then he comes out and he starts running policy, which is just the gambling off of the weather. But you have to guess the weather, or was it weather or something else? I forget what it was. But again, too, that's just like the reproduction of the same story. So that, to me, but it also ties into The Godfather itself when, they do the, what's it called there, after Sonny's killed. And then the Don calls all the families together, and then they're all like making up. But then the guy out of Detroit, I mean, it's kind of funny too, because if you know the story of the Purple Gang and everything going on in Detroit at the time, not even just the Purple Gang, it's kind of funny because the one thing they do say is, hey, as long as you sell into the blacks, it's okay. So
you think that's what it was? The Italian interest was to insert the heroin into the black community. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, if you go to Paul L. Williams,
for that matter, the CIA's interest, right?
Well, if you go to Paul L. Williams in Operation Gladio, that's the entire purpose of Gladio, is that they want to import it to Harlem so that they can fund their black book.
And we saw that evolve into matters of Appalachia and the opium, or the pill epidemic.
Yep.
For example, Claremont County, Ohio, where I used to live, #1 drug overdose death capital of America per capita from 1980 to 2015, thanks in large part to the opium pill epidemic there.
Oh, I mean, let's be honest. The Sackler family is a fantastic family. They've done nothing
Great folks.
wrong.
Nice people.
McKinsey was definitely
great
not.
Americans.
McKinsey was definitely not involved with the Sackler family and the FDA. Do not believe what the Google demons tell you. They are
Most
a perfect.
don't know who McKinsey and Company are, though, and they are a dark force. They are a very dark force.
Yeah. Just like the Rand Corporation, but I mean, it's just two.
They're very similar, right?
The same feather, right?
Consultings, right?
Yeah.
So what is going on here with this whole atmosphere? We got this film being made opposite The Godfather, MGM versus Paramount. We're trading actors we see in the offer, Pacino and De Niro. This is made about Joe Gallo. Joe Gallo is literally, targeting Colombo at this time in a war.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, though, too, is even in the episode 1, when Bluthorn takes a call from Jack Warner, and then they're talking about, like, oh, nobody makes a gangster movie but me. And then, he's like, oh, I'll pay you $1 million. And that Lapinus guy's like, oh, no, we could get at least $3 million. And then he's like, oh, no one does gangster movies anymore. And they talk about Kirk Douglas was the last one who flopped, but then they're kind of trying to play it off like, with Colombo and the Italian American Civil Rights League that, as far as Hollywood making movies about it, the Mafia, it's prejudiced towards Italians, but it's like, motherfucker, like Scarface was made in 1923 or some shit like that. Like, it's not like literally Meyer Lansky was a mobster making mobster movies, but Columbo's up there like, this is all prejudiced. So
that's kind of my point, dude. So what I see this as, so what you're saying, and what I see all of us as, is they're generating an environment where they can all profit from it. It's a cyclical kind of internal kind of economic system they're creating. So they're creating the counterpoint situation with the Italian Americans League. They're doing the whole film. They're producing the film. We'll say, oh, we hate this, but we're really making this film about it. No one knew, a contemporary, that Joe Colombo was the executive producer. If it weren't for Al Ruddy telling this tale about his friends, I wouldn't know about it.
Now, the other thing to consider, though, too, is as we're talking about it, this is just really a revelation of the method. They're all showing their ways, but then they're like, oh, this isn't real. It's just fiction. Yeah, okay, for sure. Like, everyone knows it's real. Like, you had to like J. Edgar Hoover was mobbed up or whatever, so he hid it until fucking Robert Kennedy had like the hearings, and that was just after the raid, which was, if I'm not mistaken, that raid was not Hoover, was it? There, Phil, or was it?
No, it was it was funny enough, a guy with the same his name was J. Edgar Croswell, was the cop up in Appalachian who had noticed that a supposed owner of a bottling company, Joe Barbara, seemed to have a lot of company at his estate the previous year. And then he started taking notes of these cars that were showing up at the local motel with out-of-state plates, and he called it in, which led to the raid on Appalachian, which was November 14th, 1957. Yeah. And that was to kind of settle things after Albert Anastasia got killed, and which allegedly was done by Crazy Joe Gallo and Carmine Persico. And it was to kind of, settle things down, because the other thing was the selling of memberships in the Mafia.
The other thing I'll point out, though, too, because JJ's going to fucking love this one. Now, the first Sin City, where the mob was making all their money off of gambling, is a tiny little shithole named Lexington, Kentucky. It's right across the river from Cincinnati. They had the Beverly Hills Club there.
Covington, Kentucky. Covington, Kentucky, sir. Yeah.
I thought it was Lexington, but whatever. I'm horrible with names, so that's why
you're spot on. It's the Beverly Hills Club. I know exactly what you're talking about. Please continue.
But Lexington's the city right across.
That is where the Vegas mob were at before Vegas.
Yeah, and so that was the original Cincinnati.
That's Covington. It's Covington, Newport.
Okay.
Yeah, Lexington is where
Hooker comes from. Newport, Kentucky.
Newport on the levee. My bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's where the term hooker comes from. Covington, Newport, there.
But,
General Joseph Hooker, member of the Society of Cincinnati.
If you go back to the 1920s, 1930s, they had like fucking 1,500 or 15,000 people, but they had like enough rooms for like 100,000 people or whatever, and they had like 10 or 15 supper clubs all on the one street. I forget the name of it. So
and they burned them all down when they were done with them, right? Like the Beverly Hills one.
Yeah. And you know that definitely ties into Cincinnati because it's right across the river. But again, you had that one sheriff who was tied to the mayor of Cincinnati, who was the football player or whatever. I forget the whole. Like, it's been a while since I looked into it, but that's again too. If people want to look into it, that's really interesting about all the gambling. The city got together.
No, that's a good point because a lot of folks don't realize that the Mafia, I think it still runs Covington, Newport, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So back to that Appalachian meeting, back when J. Edgar Hoover still declared for many years, all the way till 1964, there was no organized outfit of crime across America. And that he maintained that during the hearings on that. But the attorney behind those hearings, along with RFK, was this man right here, Roy Cohn. And on top of that, we see all the characters around this matters of the Godfather, including Congressman Biaggi. They're all at Roy Cohn's 54th birthday at Studio, or 52nd birthday at Studio 54. They're along with Donald Trump.
And I will point out, Justine Castro's whore mother abandoned him so she could go do cocaine at Studio 54. And if you want to look up Margaret Trudeau pussy or NSFW, she does have her beaver, she does have the pussy that destroyed, the one that just created the guy that destroyed Canada. But I mean, it's all on there
with Mr. Process McJagger as well. So, these matters aren't far apart. But what is going on? Roy Cohn deeply involved with? He seems to be the man. Like, are they really outing the Mafia in these things? You know what I mean? In the Appalachian meeting,
could be a limited hangout.
Right.
I think some of it, though, too. I think some of it does. I think some of it does. As far as like we were saying, it wasn't J. Edgar Hoover, so as a local sheriff, who's still elected, who went out and did it. So once all the people are arrested, they have to kind of not deny it, at least, you know what I mean? But again, too, they'll still try to put their spin on it, you know what I'm saying? And the media wasn't as controlled back then. But while we're doing a breakdown, I'm just going to drop this one here because this is a little movie. I think I might have brought it up with you here before. But have you ever heard of Rock? You brought up Mick Jagger. Have you ever heard of Rock and Roll?
Oh, yeah. Was that the one you did with Emilio Estevez?
No, Rock and Roll was an animated film that was made in Quebec. It's got Iggy Pop in it, and Mick Swagger or Mock Swagger is the villain in it. It's this really weird. It was a complete fucking flop. They made or they cost like $8 million to make and got 15,000 in the box office.
Yeah, he made some horrible movie with Emilio Estevez in the late 80s.
Free Jack.
Free Jack. Yeah, 1992 Free Jack. Thank you, sir. Here we go. This movie was terrible. Super. I mean, it had a decent cast, I suppose, outside of him.
You mean Emilio Sheen?
There you go. I was like, Emilio, it's the Mighty Duck Man. In fact, he doesn't live too far from me, apparently.
Hey, wait. While we have that up, Renee Russo, what the fuck's with her?
I mean, Ron Russo? That's a dude, if you ask me.
But even some of the shit that she plays in, it's like,
Very questionable. Very questionable. So if we can, appreciate you, gents. If we can, thank you for joining me here tonight to go GCD. If we can just do a quick review of the first few episodes here, and then any closing statements. I'll scroll through some of the synopsis. Anything that jumps out at you here. I think we've covered a lot of the character basis and a lot of the ins and outs of a lot of these things, but we do see the creation of the Italian American Civil Rights League. We see a lot of rivalries internally to the mob. We see, the Hollywood feuds, right?
Yeah.
What was the biggest thing in episode 1 that stuck out at y'all?
I mean, even then, you look at how Paramount was an absolute flop or whatever, and then they do Love Story, they make $100 million off of that, and then they follow up with The Godfather, but they make how much off of that, and then there's some weird connections that way as far as Gulf and Western, And it's funny when you go back, and it wasn't just.
There's a lot of weird connections, dude. The guy's an Austrian who comes over and joins the brand new Air Force here in America. You know, that Nazi organization from the National Security Act of 1947. And then suddenly becomes this tire salesman in Michigan, and then a few years later is the owner of one of the largest global conglomerates.
But you know who else was Austrian? Gustav Schwarzenegger, the Nazi, who created us the other.
That's
Nazi
what I'm saying. Is this a matter of the Martin Bormann network? Is that where they're funneling money through his Gulf and Western?
Possibly. Now, the other thing that I found really interesting, since I just mentioned Schwarzenegger, did you see they asked about Charlie Kirk, and he talks about like, oh, someone should never lose their life, and I'm just like, hey, how many Jews did your father kill?
Right. I want to know how many people he's killed, dude. That dude's got some skeletons in his closet.
Dude, if you ever follow bodybuilding, like he used to be a big schmo, right? He used to fuck everyone for cash before the Weeders, right? Before they made him famous. That's how he.
Well, when we're getting into these matters of those films that Bob mentions here in episode 2 about them sex films, he's allegedly part of that same mix.
Yep. And it's kind of funny, though, too, because let's not forget, Lou Ferrigno also appears in The Offer, and he's also one of the Weeders' boys, you know? So I'm just going to put that one out there.
And we see Bill Manson 2, you know, the guy who was charged in the murder of the Cotton Clubs, and Cocaine Bob was the unindicted co-conspirator who ordered the hit. Well, we see him, not only is he allegedly the son of Albert Anastasia, according to him, I'm sorry, not Bill Menser. The guy that plays Bill Menser in Dragnet, the actor from Superman 2.
Jack something.
I'll look him up here. But he claims he's the son of Albert Anastasia. He plays Bill Menser in Dragnet. You know, Bill Menser's character as the bodyguard driver of Larry Flint. And there, you know, Dragnet, in my opinion, I've done a review on that. It's just the process telling process tales, and it's got Tom Hanks. We see Tom Hanks' son in this one. That's a shocker, Colin. I'm just saying, we see a lot of these things, folks telling their tales, but Albert Anastasia's son is a Hollywood actor who continues to tell these tales, I believe, as well.
Wait. You know what I just found, because I'm on the synopsis page there, too? And this guy, you'll recognize him when you see him, but Eric Balfour, who obviously, to me, as soon as I saw that name, that ties into the Balfour Declaration, but he's listed as one of the actors in this movie too. So that's a weird.
Jack O'Halloran. There we go. I couldn't think of it.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Which Balfour? That's an interesting last name, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to look up. It says he's the son, son of a chiropractor, but he was born in California. But I mean. Yeah, no, like, is he tied to the Balfour Declaration and all that shit, you know? Arthur Balfour.
You never know, man. You never know. So you were mentioning, though, Albert Anastasia's death was the early onset to those Colombo crime wars, right? For the
it was about a few years before. Yeah.
Yeah, so, again, this guy claims to be the son of Albert Anastasia, and he plays Emil Muzz in Dragnet, who looks a lot like Bill Menser, who again, Bill Menser was the Larry Flint bodyguard and driver, and that's what Emil Muzz was in the film, to the pornographer in the film there. And his brothers were major, not Jack O'Halloran, but Bill Menser, Manson 2, they're in prison for the murders there in the Cotton Club business of Roy Radin, with Cocaine Bob there as the unindicted co-conspirator. Well, Menser's brothers were major bodybuilding figures. In fact, I think one of them beat Arnold in 1980 for Mr. Universe.
Which one?
One of the Menser brothers. Menser.
Oh, yeah.
Menser brothers. I always get them mixed up. They both died mysterious deaths there in Brentwood, California in 2001, a few weeks apart, strangely enough. Mike Menser.
Yeah. I was kind of distracted because I was on the synopsis for
no worries.
2.
Yeah, I'm looking at stuff here too, so I get
So I was
it.
looking at the synopsis
So,
of
yeah,
number 2 because I know you're kind of tight for time, but no.
Oh, we got a few minutes. I just want to bring this in for a landing. So yeah, he beats in late '79 he won the heavyweight class of Mr. Olympia, but lost in the overall to Frank Zane. And in 1980 he was placed 4th in a tie with somebody behind Schwarzenegger. Okay, so but this was a guy in the mix and knew Schwarzenegger. I mean, this is the brother. So I don't know if he was an occultist, but we do know his brother was, right? And we do know his brother was back to the whole Manson situation.
You know, it's really interesting when you have that up is so the guy that they tied with, Boyer Coe, who is a super famous, doesn't have a Wikipedia.
Oh, who was that?
Boyer Coe, the one who ties. It doesn't look like he had a Wikipedia link.
That's interesting.
So,
I don't know.
And he was super famous.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. I think he was in Pumping Iron, of course, too, with Lou Ferrigno and all that.
Right.
Now, the other thing, with Arnold...
None of these mentor boys were dumb. Like, this one right here was pre-med student, right? Genetics, physical chemistry, organic chemistry. I'm just saying, dude, when you see these people involved in weird occult shit, you know what I mean? Like, you know, maybe they're cooking some drugs, too. Who knows, right?
Yeah. Now, can I just point out, too, Arnold Schwarzenegger's first movie was playing the husband of Jane Mansfield.
Right, dude. I'm saying he's steeped in occultism for sure. There's no doubt about that. Well, one of his big roles is a Marvel character again, Flea McFan fiction, and Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
So if we're look at, go ahead.
I was going into episode 2 here.
Yep.
The one thing that jumps out at me. The big thing about that one is they fly into Vegas because they want to meet Vic Damone, who is going to be the guy who's like the fake Frank Sinatra, but you know what I mean. And then he basically is like, oh yeah, I'll do it for sure. But that night he's at the theater, and then they stand up, and he's just like backs out the back door. But the one thing that I wanted to point out, if I'm not mistaken, they made sure to have the Sammy Davis and Dean Martin on the signs there, but they didn't have Frank Sinatra. So I thought there was something behind that, right? Because they're showing like these old signs when they go to Vegas. So, yeah. That's a big thing that jumps at me about the episode 2. There's a bunch of other things in there, but obviously there's so much with this that there's so much going on. Yeah, Biaggi.
Well, I think it's interesting. One thing that's jumped out at me with Biaggi and everything else here is the Federal Bureau of Investigations. They go threaten Ruddy after the whole incident of Mickey Cohen shooting out his window there, warning shots, right? And then we also see them shaking down Columbo in courtesy of Biaggi, right?
And as you see near the bottom there, that's also like obviously in the book and in the movie they had the head scene, the horse's head, but then somehow they got a fucking dead rat in Ruddy's room in the hotel, right? And then Ruddy leaves, but that the next morning is when they pick up Ruddy and bring him to fucking meet with Columbo. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. They had the rat in Cocaine Bob's room there, and he loses his shit, doesn't he?
Yeah, and then right after that's when Columbo first basically kidnaps Ruddy and brings him over to fucking Brooklyn or Bronx or whatever. They're both BR or O to so they're saying to me, but they basically kidnap him and kind of say, hey,
Sure.
So,
Phil, what was the biggest thing here in episode 2 that was a big takeaway for you?
So I mean, I believe that's the one that ends with the shots, right? I mean, where it ends with them taking a shot at Betty and Betty and
Cohen
and Albert, with the Mickey Cohen shot. So my only question is by this point, because like Mickey Cohen by like the 1970s, he's already done his time for like tax evasion. I think at one point when he's in jail,
an old man, right?
Yeah, and someone beat him over the head when he was in jail. So like his brain was not like he was not who he once was. Not saying he couldn't have been a factor at this time. I mean, I mentioned in the notes how at one point Patty Hearst's parents would approach him for help and trying to reach out to the SLA at one point. But
oh shit, so that'd been like right at his death because he dies in 76.
Yeah, and one book I read suppose that maybe someone killed him, like someone smothered him because he was maybe talking a little bit too much at that older age.
The one thing that I would say though is, like Lansky's gone by that time, right? As far as people who are named within,
he's dead 10 years later. Lansky lived a while. He died in 83.
Okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
But he was.
Okay. if you're looking at like people that are named and have the weight, if you're just gonna shoot out a window, I mean, why wouldn't he do it, right? That's the only,
I mean, that's the only thing. I have no doubt that it's certainly possible, but he's an old man at this point. I was just, it just seemed like he's not the one running the show out there, right?
Yeah.
No, but at this point, I'm saying though, the purpose of it is that they want to send a message. So if you want to send a message, do you send the name out that everyone would know? If he just walked up to the rear window, everyone would recognize who he is, right? You're not going to send like one of the 20-year-old, young bucks out there. If you want to send the message, you want to make sure that it's someone that they recognize. Is the point I'm getting at.
Well, it says here he was in prison until 72.
Oh.
Look, I mean, like I said, they don't completely adhere to like a linear timeline. Because I mean, by the way, Joe Gallo doesn't get out of jail until 71. He's only out of jail not even a year between. I mean, there's only a year difference between him getting out and when he gets gunned down. So they do take some liberties with it. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, still like it. I mean, but
for sure,
like I said, it sets that the drama going along well.
I would say it does set a good drama. It does a good storyline there, even if it's not exactly historically accurate.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me Mickey Cohen went on a national tour with Ramsey Clark, the man who was on Tehran and Iran-Contra scandal? Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, Mickey Cohen was the one who, during the what was it, the inquest for Johnny Stompanato, who was like one of his guys who supposedly was killed by Lana Turner's stepdaughter, Cheryl Crane, even though it's been hinted at that it was Lana Turner who killed him because he was an abusive piece of crap. Mickey Cohen at the inquest read the supposed love letters between Johnny Stompanato and Lana Turner. Mickey Cohen could not not be out of the limelight. He gravitated towards it.
Well, I mean, he was a Hollywood figure in many regards.
Well, the other thing I'll point out.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll point out, though, too, Cohen, Cohen, Kohan, Kohn, Cohn, they're all variations of Cohen, which is one of the original 12 tribes. And basically, I have it up here on Wikipedia, and it's saying it's the Hebrew word for priest. So that's interesting.
That is interesting because they're a powerful gangster family, right? Not just him, right?
I don't remember. I mean, LA was a very kind of like mixed. I mean, the Italians didn't really take over until after they dealt with Mickey Cohen, and yet they didn't even kill him. They killed a lot of his guys. But they, as far as I know, I don't remember there being other Cohens within that circle. Mickey Cohen kind of became a little bit more into prominence after Bugsy Siegel got killed. And then he's warring on the Sunset Strip with Jack Dragna and the Italians, one of whom was Jimmy Fratiano, because they couldn't kill Mickey Cohen. They knocked over a couple of his associates. They blew up his house.
Yes, sir. I'm thinking of the Dragna family. You're good call, sir. Good call.
Yeah, I mean, Mickey Cohen.
They were the ones that were the powerful LA faction, right? He had sons and brothers and shit, right?
Yeah, his what was it? His brother Tom, and there was Louis Tom Dragna, who lasted, I think, the longest as boss. But then in the end, Jimmy Fratiano was like acting boss at one point. He testifies, and at the time became the highest ranking mobster to turn. Later on, then you had. I mean, I thought they'd kind of fallen away. I mean. But then you had Anthony Fiato.
What are your thoughts on this Hollywood character in the mob world? He has a lot of tales. It's kind of like Gianni Russo there as far as his weight and power goes, but he claims to be the mob's man in L.A. for many years.
I'd have to read him. I've never heard of him.
No, him and Michael Franchese fucking hate each other. I love it when they call each other rats. These two love calling each other rats.
Well, the one thing I'll point out, though, too, as far as Mickey Cohen and that, even if you go back to Puzo and The Godfather, I can't remember if it's in the movie as much as it is in the book, But LA's kind of always been, you know, like a non. So it's kind of like it's Switzerland, so to speak, for the mob, right? So that's where they send Fredo out, because it is Switzerland, where they're, you know, they can send him out there and no one's going to come after him.
Yeah, it's sort of open, but I mean, there was family. It wasn't as open as, say, Vegas was, or the way Arizona was considered like an open state, or Miami was supposedly an open city. But they talk about the family that they send Fredo out with, or the
What's
family
up with Fredo? This guy's an interesting character, right? He died a weird death.
He only made
He's a weird looking fucker too.
Well, speaking of predictive programming, him and Pacino give us a transgendered film here. Part of the transpocalypse. They rob a bank to fund a trans surgery.
And to bring it to modern day, Mario Cuomo is a piece of shit Fredo.
Well, now it's funny you mentioned that. So Cuomo has been rumored to be a made man in the Colombo crime family, and they were present at many of the functions within the Cuomo family, photographed, etc., donating money to numerous campaigns.
Well,
the father
and then
Cuomo,
you bring into his father, though, too, is the Andrew Cuomo.
That's what I'm talking about. The father Cuomo. His sons are pieces of shit. The younger, or the Andrew.
No, it's Andrew. He yelled about Fredo, right?
He's probably part of Nexium. He's probably a member of Nexium. And then his younger brother Fredo, he's just an idiot, dude. He's just a dum dum. Like this.
Well, even right now, like Andrew Cuomo still like I saw a post today that the heir of the Estee Lauder family just gave Andrew Cuomo fucking $750 million to his super PAC or something like that for his mayor run.
He's married to a Kennedy, right? Isn't he?
Yeah,
he was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So was Schwarzenegger.
Yep. There you go.
And they both cheated.
I'm not saying everybody who goes on national TV as a governor wearing an overly tight polo shirt, grossly showing his gigantic nipple bars, nipple piercings. I'm not saying every one of these characters is a member of a sex cult, but I'm saying he is. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and he's got way too many connections to Nexium. So do all of the politicians within the New York apparatus, including Chuck Schumer, who was in attendance at Roy Cohn's 52nd birthday at Studio 54. Just saying. But this guy's interesting, right? What's up with this dude?
Manages to be in some of the best movies pretty much ever. I mean, he's in at least 3. I mean, he's in Godfather 1, 2. He's in The Conversation with Gene Hackman. That's a surveillance, movie about surveillance.
Deer Hunter?
Dog Day. And Deer Hunter was his last movie, which he had married Meryl Streep right before then and then passed.
Yeah, and again, Dog Day Afternoons, the transpocalypse agenda within these same processing folks who espouse the transgendered situation with their whole bathroom.
Wait. BU, is that the Jesuit school or is it Boston College? Because that would make them Jesuit trained.
I think
Boston
it's
University is Methodists.
Okay, so it's Boston College that is the. I'll check that. But one of those two Boston schools is a Jesuit university.
Yeah, you're right. I think it is Boston College. This one's Methodists.
My apologies. I thought I saw that and I was like, is that the Jesuit one?
It's important to know these folks where they go get taught at, right? I imagine this guy's of some interesting heritage. Oberlin College here in Ohio is a very private school, very liberal arts, small private school here. So that's interesting. That he went there.
Boston College is the Jesuit college. Yeah, I went to it, and it's even on their direct website. It's like, why a Jesuit education?
So we're told him diagnosed with lung cancer and just dies, huh? Is that the story here?
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I just, these matters of, where they're just like, oh, he just dies. It's kind of odd.
Yeah.
Pardon me. If you don't mind here, we'll close it out here with synopsis here on 3, 4, and 5, and some closing statements from you both, sirs. If starting with Phil, sir, if you don't mind here, what was the biggest thing here out of episodes 3 and 4 and 5? I guess. Well, I guess we'll just do 3 and 4. Well, we'll just end it at 3. There's a lot of shit here. We'll just end it at 3 today, if you don't mind. We'll reconvene on these matters in the future.
So, talking about the whole thing with how Evans didn't want Pacino, like just that vehement, like not wanting Pacino. And meanwhile, it's like we talk about the whole thing with, previous movies. And I don't even know if they ever really cast Italians that much as gangsters. But in the end, and you look at how the movie is cast.
No, they really don't, do they?
Yeah, Brando's not Italian. Yeah, no, Kirk Douglas is Jewish. And I think it was called The Brotherhood was the one that he was in that I heard was a piece of garbage.
Although we do get Jerry Orbach over there playing Joe Gallo, right?
Yeah, and the Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight, written by Jimmy Breslin.
By another one of these fucking cultists, right?
Yep. And then you have, obviously, later on, you have Ruddy and Evans clashing on that, and obviously the fact that Coppola was very insistent on, it being Pacino. And that's obviously a sticking point throughout a lot of the parts is Coppola not wanting to lose control. None of them do. Ruddy doesn't want to lose control of his producing job. He doesn't want, people watching, over his shoulder. Coppola doesn't want to sacrifice his artistic integrity. Evans doesn't want to lose, his control over, pretty much production at Paramount. So it's kind of like all three, they're all desperate in one form or another.
Which does happen, right? They talk, like we see that in there. There's Variety Publishing, Evans is out. I think that we see that here in episode 3.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple times his job is pretty much seems like it's going to be done. And, you obviously have that Barry, Colin Hanks' character trying to undermine him at every turn. And then later on, you have that guy, Jack, who I think that guy was in RoboCop, and ER always plays a dick in everything he's in. But then you have, obviously, one of the big things is the return of Joey Gallo. And, him hooking up with Nicky Barnes. And, yeah, that's 100% Nicky Barnes, just with the glasses. I still remember that Mr. Untouchable book about Nicky Barnes. And, yeah, Gallo wanting his spot at the table, even though when he left, I forget exactly what he got convicted for, but he wound up doing about 10 years for it. His brother, Larry, dies in the middle of his stretch. Albert, his brother, I don't think could really organize much of anything. And, he's intent on basically picking back up where he left off. And, of course, the Gallows were, I mean, they definitely were the inspiration in Godfather 2 for the Rosado brothers. The turmoil that winds up kind of figuring into Godfather 2. Sir.
That's what I'm saying when some of these are hit pieces, right? So they kill off Sonny in the first one because I think Columbo was mad at his underboss. And that's why they did that. They named Khan's character Sonny, right? And they kill him off in the first one. Then we see that stuff in the second one relative to the Gallows. And then we see in the third one, everything that Michael Corleone is basically the story of Charles Bluehorn, who gets murked at the same time in the process church cleanup operations around the same time as Roy Radin, Mitch Ward Bell, and so on and so forth there in 83 and 84. We see that's a major disruption in a lot of things, and it's derivative of the, again, the bank scandals we see there, the Pope dying in the late 70s, etc. Yep. And these are the stories they're just telling about them and their friends, and they're some of them are hit pieces, some of them are bragging. And again, we see Colby's Queers because this guy right here out of Fort Bragg was central to all of those portions of the drug trafficking situations we see depicted in The Offer. They don't mention this guy, but.
And if we're gonna talk about him, like that brings back with Fort Bragg. Who did we talk about not that long ago? Jeffrey McDonald. It kind of gives credence to the fact that the amount of drugs that were being run out and possibly being run out of the medical aspects.
Montiglio and Featherstone.
Yep. So,
but,
and I've been covering a lot of that McDonald case. I'll be diving into more of it because he's still alive today, and it is the Process Church's attorney, yes, John Markham II, in aided and abetted by not Lee Harvey Oswald, F. Lee Bailey, and fucking Alan Dershowitz, Mr. Pro Snuff Film himself, Jeffrey Epstein's buddy. They're the ones who shut down the McDonald appeals, courtesy of laser tag Ted Gunderson. So these matters are relevant today. And again, they all circle around characters around here, like the Process Church National Security State right here with Shirtless Bob and Henry Kissinger. And again, the whole really the offer is really a tale, in my opinion, of Cocaine Bob and his friends. And we see again Kissinger in there, and they describe the relationship accurately. No one knew at the time why these two men were inseparable in the late 60s and early 70s. Still is not effectively described today.
I mean, if you just look at the number of movies that have to sign a contract and give rights to final cuts to the CIA, to the DOD, I mean, it's all psychological warfare. But to answer S23's question about the transgenderism real quick, it's not just Genesis. If you look at the Greeks, if you look at Popol Vuh and the Mayans, every single one of our cultures kind of starts off as humans having both male and female, then they're split by the gods. So that's just one thing. I'll just throw that in there real quick. But as far as
that's a good point, because really, ultimately speaking, the process included they're transhumanists, and we have Google's transhumanist right here, their VP of transhumanism. So this is a matter that
wait. Did you see it on the Twitter today that fucking Doritos did a Stranger Things fucking Stranger pizza that comes with a black chip dip that you can fucking literally see the nanotech dripping off of it? Well, not literally, but that's just me saying literally.
Right. That's the motif they're aiming for, huh? That's their
yeah, no, I could send you that if you want to pull it up. I can send it. If not, it's not a big deal because everyone can see it.
I'll pull it up right now. You said Doritos?
Yeah, Doritos and Stranger Things. But while you're doing that, the thing.
Why don't you offer some closing statements here, sir, on episode 3?
The one thing that sticks out for me for episode 3 is this is the episode that Bloodhorn really comes into his character for the remainder of the season, right? At least for me. As far as that's the one thing that really stuck out on this episode. I watched it about a week ago, and nothing else is jumping out at me is on this one, like from the synopsis. But like I say, this is where Bloodhorn really came into character, and then you're like, yeah, bring him back. You know what I mean? He was entertaining, just the way he's cursing out everyone, and just some of the lines he comes up with. But isn't this the one where, actually now as I'm talking, isn't this the one where fucking Ruddy allegedly goes to his office and he's like, it's a cold blue or whatever, and he's like, I don't even know what that is.
An ice cold, terrifying tale about a family you love.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know what the fuck it is, but I love it.
I love the actor who plays him.
Scene. That scene is literally like seals the deal for me for Bloodhorn for the rest of it. You know, like it's just like, yeah, I like that motherfucker now.
Yep. Now he's a great character actor in the Christopher Nolan films. That guy, so I do enjoy him as an actor.
Yeah,
so, this looks creepy as fuck, dude.
Nanotech dripping off of it. The Ray Kurzweil nanotech's just dripping off that dip.
Yeah, I gotta close this stupid ad.
Yeah.
Looks creepy as fuck, dude.
Yeah, Rick Kurzweil and his black goo, which again, really, black goo just came around in the 60s when they started opening up those canopic jars, right? And allegedly that's the DNA, but like what? The DNA sits in a fucking non-hermetically sealed jar for fucking 3,000 years? Dude, I've been seeing
some meteorite stuff with some black goo going around. I'm like, I've seen that before. That's some ancient alien cargo cult nonsense. So, and we see all these ideas getting perpetrated. So is Stranger Things, for example, getting back to the cult business in New York City, for example, in the process, Cocaine Bob's friends, Carlton Gajushek. He was a member, infamous NIH kid diddler who brought in 50 kids from Malaysia. No one asked a question because he worked for Anthony Fauci. He's from Yonkers, New York, and was named by Maury Terry as part of that cult scene. His nephew was the showrunner for Stranger Things season 1, Carl Gajushek. This is a true story.
Kurzweil also says, like, in the future that we won't need to go visit our family because we'll all have nanotech black goo in the corner, and then they'll just animate themselves, and then you can, like, hug your family, your mother, whatever, your brother. You won't have to see them. You can just hug the nanotech. That's all.
That's what I'm saying. We see the machinations of all these folks, despite you can call them Satanists or transhumanists, etc. Again, the processes... this church, including the Satanic Temple, they have transhumanist belief systems. In fact, their transhumanist philosopher is a fellow by the name of William Sims Bainbridge. He is the fourth great-grandson of the Admiral William Bainbridge of the Society of the Cincinnati. I'm not saying that he's a member. I'm just saying his forefather was.
Now, as we bring up Ray Kurzweil, you brought him up earlier, do you have his timeline prediction where he shows?
I've read all of his bullshit. I've read all of his bullshit through the singularity and all that nonsense.
Yeah, I know the timeline predictions. Like by 2021, we're gonna have this. By 2025, we're gonna have this. By 2035, and he lays out everything.
I think it's 2030. It's almost like full-scale bio-human hybrid.
Yeah, like it is. Like then that came out, and I think it's the one that was published in 2001. But you look at it, and you're like, okay. But again, too, a lot of that too is just manifestation, right?
I remember a time when the Jehovah's Witnesses you mentioned earlier, those ancient alien cargo cultists, claimed the world was going to end in 1977. That didn't happen. So, these things
peak oil. Peak oil was what, 1956?
I mean, we're out of it, sir. Have you gone to a gas station recently? It's bare.
I mean, there's more than ever before, and let's not forget though, too. The fucking 1940s, the Standard Oil was selling synthetic gasoline from charcoal to the Nazis, and they wouldn't give that synthesization to the U.S. government. So, I mean...
It's all one big ass blast.
It's peak oil, 1956.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. They come up with new things to fool folks on and trick folks on. It's all one big ass blast. But
yeah,
I do want to thank you, gents, for joining me here tonight for the first portions of this review. We will reconvene in the future because there's a lot more to unpack here, as I'm sure you agree.
And not just JJ, not just Phil, but all of you. If you have not seen Coonskin, make sure to watch it. Fritz the Cat is also good, but Coonskin is a better one. I hadn't even heard of it until this one. And
if I may, our channel, just look up King Louis, 1784, in the sanctioning and charter of the Society of the Cincinnati Friends chapter. So I don't need to go any further than that, other than say, look at the obvious, right?
The Ryan Ruth channel.
It's not a secret. It's no secret there, but
do y'all have any Ryan Ruth channel?
Well, well, I mean, it might also be Cato Kalin posing as Ryan Ruth. I'm not sure. So, do you gents have any other final statements here tonight on tonight's review?
No, I'm good.
I mean,
anything on cocaine, Bob Evans?
I mean, the one name that's left out is Sidney Korshak. I don't think that was ever going to be put in there. That was his consigliere. So
that's a good name. He's a very important figure. Can you give us a quick rundown? Can you give us a quick rundown on old Korshak?
I mean, he was quote unquote a lawyer, like a labor lawyer, but no, he was what the Gus Russo, the author Gus Russo, would call part of the super mob. Kind of the unacknowledged mafia. And lived to be 88 years old. I think he died the day after his brother. And Korshak was a guy who, I mean, I've read where he was the one who helped kind of smooth the way for Pacino to get free of the contract with MGM. So
yeah, I mean, he was a fixer in the likes of Roy Cohn there, right? I mean, him and Cohn were kind of, cut from the same cloth, if you will.
When they had an interviewer from, I think it was the LA Times, come and find Korshak, he's like, I really thought you were coming here with a gun. Like he was a guy who knew, like he was connected enough with these guys for most of his life that it could have went the other way. But yeah, he was a powerful fixer, and he's the one that
go ahead.
When Evans didn't call him after the coke bust, which technically he was, according to him, wasn't there for, he was in another location, but his brother, what was it, Charlie, right? His brother and a friend get busted for.
Yes, sir.
He wondered why Evans didn't call him, and the story was that was a rift that was never fixed. That he didn't reach out to Sidney Korshak to help him. Everybody asked that, and he's like, "Well, I didn't want to embarrass him."
We got all of the Iran Contra guys from MCA Universal, Lou Wasserman and gang. We got the '84 Olympics. That's interesting. We got Kirk Corkian, we got Charles Bluehorn, we got Sinatra, Reagan. He doesn't get enough process hype. We get Pat Brown and his son Jerry Moonbeam Brown, the Processian. We get Bob Evans. We get Warren Beatty. We get the Hilton family, Hugh Hefner. Right, a lot of interesting characters. Right,
Hyatt. That's the Pritzkers. So
Can I interrupt you briefly there, JJ? Since we're bringing all that up, and I feel like it's come across before, but I might be just fucking brain farting because Big New is pretty much the same as Kissinger, but isn't Mika and Big New possibly tied to Bob Evans too?
Oh, I mean, that's interesting. I mean, he is he's made by Nelson Rockefeller and Kissinger. You are correct on that regard.
I think there is a tie between those two, not as much as Kissinger. But again, too, that's another Canadian who, was by way of Poland, Polish by way of Canada. And then you have Al Ruddy, and these people are purposely destroying America. Well, not just American society, because let's be honest, American media takes over Canada, takes over Mexico, takes over Europe, at least, you know what I mean? So they're destroying all of Western culture.
Challenge accepted, sir. I will look into that one further. And if I may add to another character like Korshak, who does not get mentioned here, who's in these tales, relative to the Godfather, and I would argue he's in that mix somewhere because he's another fixer guy, and that is Cocaine Bob's buddy Thomas Corbley. Are y'all familiar with him?
Might have seen his name. I mean, I'm seeing Kroll Associates in the bio.
That was more of his more later times. Nick Kroll, the actor's dad, and his 9/11, contractor security firm.
That's who John O'Neill went to work for. The former FBI counterintelligence who winds up going into goes into the North Tower before it collapses.
Royal Canadian Air Force. So again, that's going to tie us up with the book I shared yesterday, and Clint sent me something about Borman, and I was like, oh, hey, here's a book, The Borman Brotherhood. Phil, if you I'll drop the link there in our private chat if I get to it beforehand. But it's actually wrote by William Stevenson in 1973, but not really anyone knows about it. But it's he digs in deep on again too William Stevenson, who was Canadian, but he was also MI6, and he pretty much was the mentor, or the mentor of the entire OSS. With wasn't he in Rockefeller Center 2 floors below the original OSS office?
Yeah, BSC. Yeah, Stevenson was what they call a man called Intrepid.
Yeah, but this is another book that he wrote that no one really knows about. It's called The Borman Brotherhood. I'll grab the link real quick because it's in my chat, and I'll drop it for you.
No, those are some great details. Corbley was the Canadian side of the OSS Nazis, Colby Queers programs, and we see him involved with all these same characters: Kissinger, Kennedy, Bob Hope, Faye Dunaway, right? And she's a big character amongst the Bob Cocaine Evans crowd. Roy Cohn, Lee Iacocca, Heidi Fleiss. That's Heidi Fleiss. Nicole Brown Simpson and Carl Colby were involved in her network.
And the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yes, sir, Wolf of Wall Street, House of Saw. That's a strange crew.
Can I just point out, though, too, I don't know if everyone here listening has ever heard of them, but since we're talking about Canadian Armed Forces, and I brought this name up in a conversation with JJ yesterday, if you have not heard of William Guy Carr, I'm not saying I endorse everything that he does, but he's definitely worth looking into. Red Fog Over America. There's a couple others that are just escaping my mind right now. But he was also in Canadian military intelligence in World War I. Then he literally was like the predecessor to Bill Cooper, if I may, you know what I mean? But he was doing all this in the 50s and the 30s. So I just wanted to point that out.
So, real quick, relative to the whole Bay of Pigs thing, we keep pointing out relative to this whole crowd and Cocaine Bob and gang in the Process Church. Marianne de Grimston is very much a whore, it's disregard a hooker, in and around the perfumer affair. Whether or not she's involved in it, is yet to be proven. She's definitely in and around it, and she was doing hooker stuff. So,
Wasn't what was the other one who was the whore who was Maharaji or something like that? She was also a spy though.
Well, they're all spies, right? That's what I'm saying. It's interesting we see Corbly associated with that whole Perfumio affair, which almost took down the British government.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the British government needs to collapse anyways, especially starting with the Bank of England. But that's
I like Meghan Markle's activities. I'm a big fan of Meghan Markle in regards to the fact that she takes down the royal family there.
No. I gotta tell you. So remember, this is what people who don't actually fucking dig into things. But so Meghan Markle, right? Remember, she had this whole thing where she's talking about Queen Elizabeth's personal assistant was being racist to her or whatever. Well, that was Lady Hussey, Meghan Markle's great-great-grandfather, going back to the like 1600s, I think it was a hussy. She's a fucking hussy. Hussey and Hussy. But so it's kind of funny too, because the one person from the royal family who was allegedly being racist towards her was actually her direct relative, direct kin.
I cut out there, sir. If you're saying that Meghan Markle's foremother was the house mother for the Queen Mum, I agree with you, sir. She was, and that's why we see Meghan Markle invited to official ceremonies and events. We don't see the other whore married to the other guy. She's not invited, Middleton, because she's not part of the royal family.
Yeah.
But I do like the American infiltration of that situation to blow it up. I do think that was her role, quite honestly.
Well, that's the other reason why she was able
I think
to
someone's using her for that role. I'm not saying she concocted this idea herself. That's not what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying that's the other reason she was able to marry into the family so easily, because she's the fucking bloodline.
She's exactly. Yes, sir. You are a man with many details, sir. I appreciate you too, Phil. Appreciate your details as well, sir. As an agent of the Dewey Decimal System, I've been reading more books, motivated by
Phil,
all the books that you read.
All right, thank you.
And I do thank you, gents, for your time here. Join me to get a little GCD, and again, we'll convene on these matters again in the future. And any closing statements before we call her in here?
I'm just excited to get into some of the later episodes, and when they really start digging into all the Childtown, Chinatown, same thing. I also misspoke there, but when they start dropping, the Kissinger references, and I mean,
well, anything Chinatown, we see Robert Town in there, anything Chinatown related, it is that deep Hollywood generational stuff for the Houston family and the cultism there through Jack Nicholson.
Anyone who's watching, I know the one commenter earlier said that they only started watching it because we're talking about this. I know when I messaged Clint, told him to check in, he hadn't even heard of it, and I saw him the trailer. I'm like, this is like a movie or a miniseries about the making of Godfather, and it is full.
Chock full.
So, I mean,
real barn burner here, gents. I do appreciate your all's input and time, especially all the Mafia stuff I don't know much about. I'm always learning new details, and I definitely appreciate that. So, do highly recommend folks check out this series. We'll convene on more of the review here in the future. It's a 10-parter, chock full of parapolitics, hood rat shit, and cocaine Bob Evans friends. But on that note, we'll catch you gents, or thank you gents again, and we'll catch you folks at the interwebs next time. And thank you all again for joining us here tonight to get a little GCD.
Well, that's it. That's the show here, folks. So the next time you're out on the town, visiting your local watering holes, or perhaps just meandering around, and you hear the unmistakable sounds of metal clanking, and you spot signs of a disturbance, but check your six. Look in that garbage can, 'cause you never can tell. The GCDs may be loose in your town.